Post-apocalypse, beginning by hoarding 10 billion supplies. This video is purely for entertainment, and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting, and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451. I said, if there is meritorious service, the name of this person on the wanted warrant in China can be erased. Mu Yun didn't hide it. After all, this matter had to be seen by Qin Xianming. What? This? It's not difficult to erase the name, and it should be done to justify the crime. But whether this will attract criticism, after all, the names of people on the wanted warrant are mostly heinous. Let the tiger return to the mountain. This is not your usual style. Now Qin Xianming has something to say about Mu Yun. It was only because he saw more hope from Mu Yun's body, a hope that he could take a different path with a superpower. The end times are too long, and there are too many calamities. If the rapid decline in population is not stopped, all mankind will only usher in extinction. It's just a matter of living one more day, and dying one day later. It's like the multinational coalition that Guo is facing now. If Mu Yun is not going to maneuver from it, then I'm afraid that the energy of tens of thousands of supernatural beings has long swept away one city after another in the Hua Kingdom. Slaughter, sea of blood. This is the bloody history that has been carved thousands of years ago. This is a tragedy that no Chinese can bear to see again, and Qin Xianming will never allow such a scene to happen again. Who said that, if you are on the wanted list, you can't be on the list again? Mu Yun showed a sly smile towards Qin Xianming, and everything was silent. Qin Xianming was stunned at first, and then immediately reacted to Mu Yun's meaning. Haha. Or do you kid know how to do things, and this must not make them all crippled? Qin Xianming looked up to the sky and laughed, and the rough laughter made the wall shake. Unexpectedly, some dust hidden in the corner fell rustling. But, just do as you say. The two foxes looked at each other and smiled, naturally using an extraordinary way when dealing with unethical assassins. Boom. A rhythmic knock on the door indicates that this person is not an ordinary messenger. In. Qin Xianming retracted his smile, his face returned to his original serious and steady appearance, and he let the outsiders in. The door lock sounded softly, and the door opened and closed, just between breaths. This person is a practitioner. There is something important to report on. The visitor bowed slightly, holding a stack of lightly sealed documents. He seemed to glance at Mu Yun casually, but it was actually hinting that Qin Xianming was an important secret next. Then I won't bother much. Mu Yun didn't mean to listen. After all, he still had a lot of things at hand. If you have to understand everything, I'm afraid that dividing Mu Yun into 8 parts won't be enough. Each performs its own duties, and this huge machine can operate. Mu Yun thought very clearly, so he got up and prepared to leave here. But before he could take 2 steps, he was caught up by Qin Xianming in 3 steps and 2 steps. Qin Xianming pressed Mu Yun back onto the sofa, and his eyes signaled his reassurance. What's the hurry? Sit down a little longer. After speaking, he twisted his neck and nodded towards the person who came and said, I have nothing here that the highest agent can't hear, say. Qin Xianming's words once again gave Mu Yun prestige in the army. After all, sometimes the people below are not sure, and they can only look up at the attitude of the people on their heads. If this attitude is given well, Mu Yun will give the green light to act in the future. Mu Yun understood Qin Xianming's thoughts, so he also accepted this kindness and sat back on the sofa. The people who came to look at Qin Xianming and then at Mu Yun made up for the bow to Mu Yun without speaking. General Qin went to an assassin there. These words made Mu Yun and Qin Xianming both stunned, and guessed in their hearts that there were only 2 possibilities. Either it was sent by the multinational coalition to assassinate it, or someone sent by the Dark Raven organization. It's just that this timing is really a coincidence. Mu Yun had just returned from the Dark Crow organization, and when he turned around, General Jin came an assassin here. Qin Shianming was more inclined to the latter, that is, he didn't know whether this person came from good or evil. However, Mu Yun did not have any waves in his heart, and it could even be said that this was already in his prediction. He had been in brief contact with 0 and 7, but he was probably able to understand what the two of them were. What is the practice of using troops? The next words of the person who came completely dispelled the worries in Qin Shianming's heart. This assassin did not hurt anyone, but quietly appeared in General Jin's house, and when General Jin returned home, he explained his intentions. He is an assassin of the Dark Raven organization, at our disposal, to assist us in killing the commander of the multinational coalition. After speaking, the person who came inadvertently glanced at Mu Yun again. Mu Yun didn't care, although this person was only conveying to various high-level meetings on the surface. But in fact, his authority is very high, he knows many secrets, and he is the most trusted by Huajiuo. Mu Yun secretly went to the Dark Crow organization, to not many people who knew about it, but this person must be one of them. And most of the jealousy and speculation about Mu Yun are just curiosity about Mu Yun, a mysterious figure. After Qin Shianming listened, he completely let go of his heart. That's good, you kid still talks so much and gasps. This is Mu Yun's credit, how many brothers we sent, before have gone without returning. This time I can finally give an explanation to the brothers. Remembering some sad past, Mu Yun's success and subsequent planning, made Qin Shianming feel more at ease. Just fight for your country. Mu Yun said with a smile. I don't think that's right. The Dark Raven organization has killed so many of our brothers openly and secretly, and cooperating with them is tantamount to plotting with the tiger. What's more, who knows what conditions were used to reach the agreement? The expression on the face of the visitor was unhappy, as if he was not worth it for the dead brother. But his eyes were staring directly at Mu Yun. Without cooperating with the Dark Raven organization, what better way do you have to kill those thieves outside the city gate? By you spitting here to drown them? Mu Yun mocked him with disdain, and the person who came was blushing. You. Saying that, his eyes were red, and he pointed at Mu Yun's nose. What's the fuss? Cooperation with the Dark Raven organization is the result of the above discussions, otherwise so many people would not have been sent to negotiate. I have approved the conditions that Mu Yun exchanged, you go and convey them. Qin Shianming took a pen and quickly wrote a few words, put it in a sealed bag, and handed it to him. It was a disguised way to drive him away. If you skin the tiger, you will eat the tiger. Hearing Mu Yun's words, the door that had been opened paused slightly, and quickly closed again. There were no more footsteps outside the door. And Mu Yun also got up from the sofa again, with a smile on his face. Old Mr. Qin doesn't need to stop this time, I have to hurry back to the Dragon Court. If Qin Shianming hadn't seen Mu Yun's cold face just now, he would have believed that Mu Yun was in a good mood now. Why do you want to go back to the Dragon Court? Deploy troops. Chapter 452. Qin Shianming was originally standing sideways, and happened to see the cold light and murderous aura flashing in Mu Yun's eyes. He was shocked in his heart, and his heart was slight, and he actually looked at Mu Yun's distant back like this. By the time he came to his senses, Mu Yun had already disappeared. Hey, I really have to obey the old man, Qin Shianming said with a deep sigh. Mu Yun, who left the Qin family, looked at the empty street, and did not have any thoughts of walking. This time, the Dragon Court will serve as the second echelon, supporting the military on the flank. On the other side are the other family forces in the Chinese kingdom, as well as the elites selected by various bases. As for some of the more average powers, it is a cannon fodder to die in front of the multinational coalition. No one wants to let these people die in vain. So the selected person must be the elite of the elite. Among them, many of them were trained as the next head of the family, and now they are almost armed to the teeth. On the way to the battlefield. As the city lord of his own family, the Dragon Court was the supreme handler appointed by the government, and naturally knew that this battle was probably indispensable to the Dragon Court. What's more, everyone in the Dragon Court is a man with strong blood. They may have some entanglements or disagreements in small loves and small righteousness, but in the face of such a great righteousness, they are the first to say that they want to participate in the war. So when Chu Yu appeared in front of Sister Lan with Mu Yun, he happened to see the appearance of Huo sharpening knives everywhere. "Hey, hand me that pistol, the bullet will not die the monster, maybe you can sneak up on a foreign devil. Pull you down, if you have the strength to bear the weight, it's better to bring a short knife. Plus your flames, Malay directly burn a hole for him. Haha, you have some truth. Hand me a knife, I'll give the little foreign devils a sugar good to taste." Mu Yun looked at the people with familiar eyes, and he could roughly recognize it as the veteran-level battle team that had been in the Dragon Court from the beginning. Now everyone is more or less a petty official, and his subordinates command hundreds of people. The city lord is back. Niu Dazayan was also mixed in this group of people to joke. He had already been ready, so he saw Mu Yun appear out of thin air at a glance. "Hello, city lord." As soon as everyone heard this, they immediately stopped the movement in their hands, and turned their heads to stand up. Their voices were surprisingly loud, and their eyes were full of fanaticism, when they looked at Mu Yun. Brothers worked hard. Mu Yun nodded at them, and sent them condolences. Fighting for the country, and fighting for the Dragon Court is not hard work. It is also honorable to die in battle. It's just that we have to let those lackeys know how good we are. "City Lord, when are we leaving?" Everyone was talking, and the voice was not small, but Mu Yun still heard their every word clearly. "I understand your intentions, but there are still people waiting for you in the Dragon Court, and the battlefield is changing rapidly, so be careful." Mu Yun's words made sense, but they also aroused the fighting spirit of the generals of the Dragon Court. Who It is said that the soldiers instigated one, and they will instigate a nest. The current captains are all high-spirited fighters who can tear the enemy to pieces, and there is no need to worry about deserters. "Okay, get ready to go, and meet at the door in half an hour." Mu Yun's words were an order, and everyone scattered, each ordering troops to prepare to set off. Knowing that at this time, Sister Lan and Niu Dazayan had the opportunity to walk to Mu Yun's side. In fact, Sister Lan is also busy now, and a large number of wound medicines, equipment, weapons, and even crystal nuclei in the warehouse are flowing on her hands and issued to the combat troops. "City Lord, I took it upon myself to mobilize the combat troops first. As long as you give an order, we will leave immediately." Niu Dazuang had a thick voice. His voice was as loud as thunder. Chu Yu plucked his ears, his brows furrowed again, but he didn't say anything. "You're doing a great job. There is no need to say anything else. I believe the brothers understand it in their hearts. As long as you come back alive, eat meat and drink, and the Dragon Court will gather for 3 days. What is most lacking in the end times? It's food. Food not only sustains human life, but also promotes the growth of supernatural powers, which is the most scarce thing in the last days. But this is precisely what Mu Yun does not lack the most." "Good. Thank you, City Lord." These words made Niu Dazayan's blood boil, and he turned around and left the point soldier with his hands in his fists. Different from the selection of other forces, the 2,000 people he led, each of them pulling down the battlefield, are elites who can fight one enemy in 10, and have been tempered in blood. It is the sharpest knife in the Dragon Court that stabs the enemy. Congratulations to the City Lord for becoming the supreme handle. Sister Lan bowed slightly, and her face was also excited with honor. Such a title is the first of its kind in the whole country. Don't go, you're still responsible for getting things done in the city. The sky is falling, and there are those old men on top. Mu Yun saw that Sister Lan was also completely armed, and he could see at a glance what she was planning. He knew that Sister Lan would not lose if she really fought, but compared to those who rolled on the tip of the knife, she still had less actual combat experience. For Sister Lan, the best battlefield is to coordinate the situation, and the rear support is complete, in order to maintain the front charge. As soon as Mu Yun's words came out, Sister Lan also immediately understood what he meant. I see. This is the expenditure this time, City Lord. Mu Yun took a look, and wrote it clearly one by one. Mu Yun simply glanced at it a few times, and he had an idea in his heart. Although it is said that the expenditure is quite a lot, it is actually only a drop in the bucket for the powerful Dragon Court. What's more, in his small space, there are many good things that can be replenished at any time. Now there is Pan Xian Chang to manage the small world for himself, and wait until Pan Xian Chang successfully masters the skills of the position of warehouse manager. At that time, he will be even more happy to be a dispenser. Okay, the rear will be handed over to you. After that, Mu Yun turned around and left, heading towards the door. Sister Lan behind her bowed slightly, and greeted the City Lord. The distance to the door was actually a few hundred meters, but Mu Yun didn't think about it, but he was stopped by Zhao Yi and Shen Liang at the same time. Looking at the two people looking at each other, they were a little surprised and dazed. Mu Yun guessed that these two people probably did not expect the other party to appear. You guys are. As soon as Mu Yun spoke, he was directly answered by Shen Liang and said, City Lord, the city defense team applies to go to the battlefield with the combat troops to fight against foreign enemies. In the end, Shen Liang was a military personnel before, and as a soldier, he could not sit idly by when the country was in trouble. Compared with the blood of others, the sense of responsibility that he pressed on the bottom of his heart inevitably returned to his heart. If there is a war, call back. For a veteran, this is by no means an empty phrase. Chapter 453. You're gone. What about the city defense outside Langting City? Have you thought about it? Mu Yun became rare and serious, and looked condescendingly at Shen Liang, who lowered his head and said, I've thought about it. The powerful people from all over the country of China have gone to the front, and the strength of the city guard is strong, and it will definitely be able to protect the old and weak women and children and the Dragon Court. Shen Liang glanced at Zhao Yi beside him without a trace, and said quickly, Poof. Reo is Mu Yun now anxious to meet the army, and he can't help but laugh directly. You're an old yin. Old sinister guy. City Lord, when it comes to the strength of the city defense team or the city guard, it is more suitable than us. Let's let the city guard go. Zhao Yi didn't expect Shen Liang to be one step ahead of him, and now he hurried to make up for it. I was afraid that, if Mu Yun nodded, he, the captain of the city guard, would have to guard the Dragon Court. No, it's still more suitable for the city guard. You all know more about the inside and outside of Dragon Court City. The city defense team is more defensive. The city guard is more flexible. Shen Liang and Zhao Yi both said that the other party was more powerful, but their eyes were not convinced by each other. It is also difficult for the two of them to be so duplicitous. Mu Yun shook his head with a smile, and walked around the two cockfighting like guys and walked forward. Hey, City Lord, where are you going? The City Lord has to make a decision. The two asked in unison. If I were to say, the strength of the city defense is very strong. The logistics and old and weak women and children and the Dragon Court need you. You guys, or stay and protect them. After speaking, Mu Yun turned around, and was about to leave. Shen Liang and Zhao Yi both stepped forward to stop Mu Yun, and wanted to fight for it. City Lord, our city guard is still, said Zhao Yi with a frown, and glanced at Shen Liang. To be honest, in his life, he never expected that he could have such a tacit understanding with another man. It's disgusting to think about. Have you ever thought about it, even if the powerful person who can threaten the safety of Dragon Court City is gone? But we are in the last days, haven't you seen the last insect tide? Can the dead in the insect tide still be resurrected? Those natural disasters, won't they suddenly appear? Won't they bring a threat to the Dragon Court? Mu Yun's words became heavier and heavier, and his tone naturally became more and more serious. There was even a faint murderous aura around them. It's me who has overpassed. I'll go back and strengthen the city defense arrangement. Shen Liang's tongue is better than Zhao Yi after all, and his head is faster than Zhao Yi's spiritual light. After saying this, Shen Liang hurriedly left, for fear of upsetting Mu Yun again. Zhao Yi was also stunned for a moment, bowed deeply and left quickly. If he stayed a little longer, he was afraid that he would not be able to help, but directly kowtow to Mu Yun, who had opened the realm. Really? Mu Yun let out a long sigh, didn't care about the two of them anymore, and walked directly to the army. He understood Shen Liang and Zhao Yi's thoughts, especially Shen Liang. Because of his special identity, it was easier for him to understand what kind of mood he was. But because now the heavier responsibility on their shoulders is to protect the rest of the Dragon Court. That's why it was decided. If there is a country, there is a home, but if there is no home, the country is just an empty shell. You have to take care of it inside and out. I hope these two people can understand this simple truth sooner. On the platform, Niu Dazhuang had already stood on it early and finished counting the soldiers. Now seeing Mu Yun coming over, his blood surged even more. City Lord, there are a total of 2,000 combat troops and 2,000 people in the world. Please ask the City Lord to review. Niu Dazhuang clasped his hands into fists and said with a resolute face. Good. Mu Yun stood at a high place, looking down. 2,000 high-level powerhouses, one by one, were majestic and magnificent. Mu Yun stretched out an arm and shouted loudly, "The Dragon Court will win, and the Hua Kingdom will win. The Dragon Court will win, and the Hua Kingdom will win. The Dragon Court will win, and the Kingdom of China will win. The Dragon Court will win, and the Kingdom of China will win." One by one, the blood of the powerful people below boiled, their voices grew, and they raised their right hand high to declare their blood. Feng Chen nodded in satisfaction, and there was no need to say anything. Chu Yu, these people will be handed over to you. Mu Yun turned sideways, and said to Chu Yu, who had just come out of the small world beside him. Chu Yu now had no previous smile on his face, replaced by the same serious look. Don't worry. After speaking, Chu Yu closed his eyes and made a triangular tower gesture with his hands on his chest. The palms are opposite each other, and the power of space in it is constantly emerging. However, on Chu Yu's forehead, beads of sweat the size of beans continued to emerge as time passed. Chu Yu's brows were locked, and even her lips were a little pale, but she still gritted her teeth and insisted. Mu Yun was caught off guard and unfolded his own domain, giving Chu Yu a certain bonus ability. He knew in his heart that the 2,000 superpowers were still a little reluctant for Chu Yu. What's more, these superpowers are not simple first-order powers. The higher the level of special energy, the more energy Chu Yu needs to transmit. What's more, if it is teleported to the border of China, the farther the distance, the more energy required will also increase. These 2,000 people were almost about to break through Chu Yu's limit. At the moment, when Mu Yun unfolded his domain, Chu Yu only felt that his energy suddenly poured in a lot. It was just enough to make up for the lack of energy in Shang Chu Yu. Give me, open. Chu Yu's crisp voice mixed with bloody ki resounded in the sky. Shen Liang, who was standing at the city wall guarding the safety of Dragon Court City, saw the mighty army of 2,000 superpowers disappear in place in an instant. Only dust fluttered and fell. What a terrifying ability. Shen Liang smacked his lips, withdrew his gaze, and looked into the distance again. I secretly prayed in my heart that no moths would appear during this time. Feng Chen opened his eyes again, and the scene in front of him had changed. The originally straight figure on the side faltered in an instant. Mu Yun opened his hands, and Zhang Xiang's soft body was immediately taken into his arms. The woman's pale little face turned red, and she struggled to stand up, but she had no strength to flutter twice. Instead, he drilled into Mu Yun's arms for a few more points. Brother-in-law, I. Chu Yu's face was flushed, and he looked particularly delicate. Hard work, rest well. Mu Yun didn't say much, just comforted 2 words softly. Chu Yu also nodded and returned to the small space to cultivate. This time, Chu Yu was almost losing all his energy. Fortunately, the energy in the small space is abundant, and there is food and drink, which can allow him to rest well. It will not leave any incurable sequelae for your body. Chapter 454. A 2,000-strong army plus the 7 kills group and others suddenly appeared in a city on the border of the front line, naturally unable to hide the eyes of the defenders here. Oh my god, who knows how we got here in an instant? You don't even know this? Are you new? The woman who stood beside the city lord just now is the sister of our city lord's wife, that is, the city lord's sister-in-law. As far as I know, that is, she can teleport, and it is estimated that this time she sent us here. Oh my god, that's awesome too. Could it be that the city lord's sister-in-law has reached the realm of kings? What do you think? Our city lord is only in the late 9th order. I estimate how to get the 9th order. Can our city lord's 9th order be counted as an ordinary 9th order? Haven't you heard that this time the city lord almost killed the king assassin of what Roshi sub-organization? So powerful. Worthy of our city lord. The city lord is mighty. My sister-in-law is mighty. Similarly, the combat troops who came to the border from Dragon Court City in the blink of an eye were also delighted and surprised. For a while, he whispered in a low voice. What they said naturally could not be concealed from Mu Yun's ears, although it was a little noisy. They could also hear 1, 2, 3. Remembering Uncle Killen who secretly protected himself in his small space, Mu Yun touched his nose with a weak heart. I don't know where the rumor of the powerful person who almost clicked to kill the king came from. Rumors stop at the wise, and pretend to have no boundaries. Zero, who was far away in the dark, suddenly sneezed, startling number 7 beside him. How? Got cold? 7 glanced at Zero strangely. Can a supernatural in this realm also catch a cold? I don't know, I guess which bastard scolded me. Come on, and then talk about the arrangement of the border. Zero rubbed his nose and said nonchalantly. Doing their business, no one scolding is a new thing, and it also shows that you are not famous enough. The sound of clicky footsteps stepped on the flying dust, and hurried over. Teacher, why did you come so quickly? I knew I was sending someone to pick you up. When Mu Yun heard the familiar voice, he also looked back, and saw Kinyu who was covered in various valuable equipment from head to toe. You said that it was like you were dressed like a cash cow, and you said that others would not engage in your kin family. We've just arrived too. This is... Mu Yun asked aloud, when he saw a raw face behind Kinyu. This is Mr. Kin, the military master of our kin family. Kinyu naturally had nothing to hide from Mu Yun, and generously introduced people to Mu Yun. Muan City Lord, please take care of you when you meet for the first time. Mr. Kin stretched out a hand, but there was no expression on his face. The sequelae of his power, facial paralysis. Kinyu was afraid that Mu Yun would think that Mr. Kin was proud, so he quietly leaned into Mu Yun's ear and explained. Hello Mr. Kin. Mu Yun didn't care about this, he couldn't afford it, and he didn't have the final say. Is this the elite of the legendary Dragon Court City? Looking at it today, it really has extraordinary strength. It's really admirable. Mr. Kin saw that the army of 2,000 supernatural people was pulled out casually, and one had to be a captain major in the military. It can be seen that the prestige of Dragon Court City is not boasting, but a sword and a sword. Mr. Kin is polite. Haven't the people from the other families arrived yet? Mu Yun looked at the man in front of him expressionlessly saying words of admiration, but he felt strange in his heart, as if he was talking to a robot. I don't know if facial paralysis can make people's tone so calm. Teacher, you are the first to arrive in Redgate Town, and the others are still on their way. Kinyu answered Mu Yun's words, turned his head, and ordered the soldiers beside him. Go and settle the brothers in Dragon Court City, and the logistics will keep up. Yes. Mu Yun also tilted his head, and signaled Niu Dazhuang to communicate with the soldier on the other side. The soldiers who can follow Kinyu of the Qin family will naturally not be the children of ordinary people. Mu Yun looked a little familiar, but he just couldn't remember. If you can't think of it, forget it, it's probably not an important person. Maybe it's just a relationship in the previous life. Niu Dazhuang followed the soldier to leave to settle the Dragon Court City, and Kinyu also took Mu Yun to the place where the headquarters was. Hangmen County is the most border town in China, and after crossing that Red Gate, it enters the territory of other countries. That's why it's called Red Gate Town. A few days ago, while the multinational coalition army had not yet arrived, I simply built a city wall, and there were sentry posts on it. As long as they have any trouble, we will receive the news as soon as possible. Can you explain the current situation to Mu Yun as he walked? Mu Yun also listened quietly, and it must be much faster to understand the situation from Kinyu than to inquire himself. What's more, he is now the supreme handler, and he still carries an army of 2,000 superpowers. There's no reason not to have a say here. I came to a room with a relatively simple table of tables cobbled together. Kinyu scratched his head embarrassedly. In a hurry, the spatial powerhouse has not yet followed, so I can only make do with it first. Mu Yun nodded in understanding. After all, spatial superpowers are notoriously crispy. Such a distance must be much slower than Kinyu's thick skin. Where are the multinational coalition forces now? Mu Yun stood at the table covered with maps, carefully distinguishing the nearby terrain. It's already just across the river. They are camped by the river and ready to attack. Kinyu nodded to a river on the map. To the north of the Red Gate, it has not yet entered the territory of the Chinese state. As long as they dare to step on the land of China, they will be chopped up and fed to the dogs. Mu Yun smiled, but the smile on his face couldn't help but make people chill. At the same time, Mr. Qin, who had never spoken, also had some appreciation in his eyes. He had been listening to Kinyu before, and he had heard Qin Xianming say how powerful and smart Mu Yun was. He has always been suspicious, but he knows in advance that the end times are coming, stockpiles some supplies, and is one step ahead of others. After that, he also knew all kinds of deeds, and even knew Mu Yun's small habit of when to eat, and when to drink water. If Mu Yun knew, he would probably have to jump on his feet, and scold him for being a pervert. But in fact, this also shows Mr. Qin's deep curiosity about Mu Yun. He wondered, what kind of person could be worthy of this full page of glory? When I see it now, it is indeed extraordinary. It is indeed different from the previous straw bales that sold their reputation. Chapter 455. Over here, Mu Yun was busy planning with Kinyu on the map, how to fight back if these foreign devils dared to invade the Hua Kingdom. Or how to quietly let them die on this land. They discussed the plan with great interest, completely ignoring that Mr. Qin was silently looking at Mu Yun at the moment. Kinyu didn't find it, maybe it was excusable. But within a radius of 100 miles, as long as Mu Yun wanted to, there was no move that he couldn't observe. But Mu Yun also did not make a sound, but like Mr. Qin, he was silently observing Mr. Qin. Judging from Kinyu's respectful attitude towards Mr. Qin. This Mr. Qin, who had hardly heard of the name, and had never seen his appearance. Even in the army, there is not a single official and a half post in the official. It was as if it appeared out of thin air, appearing next to the official power family. It seems that this Qin family still has a lot of hole cards. In other words, this Mr. Qin is probably the most obvious hole card they put on their faces. And Mr. Qin's attitude towards Mu Yun also shows that the Qin family trusts Mu Yun 100%. Teacher, I don't think the method you just said is. Kinyu looked at Mu Yun a little hesitantly, and the corners of his mouth went up and down for a while, as if it was difficult to speak. What's wrong? You speak boldly. Mu Yun waved his big hand, his face was full of not very concerned. It is. It's a little too shameful. How could you think of putting paprika in their paper? It's simply terrible. Nope. Miserably, his mother opened the door miserably and arrived home. Kinyu's eyes closed, his heart crossed, and the words he wanted to say came out directly in his head. Unexpectedly, Mu-Yun stopped laughing. Just say you like it or not. Mu-Yun glanced at Kinyu in his heart. This young man put some garlic here with me. Like. Kinyu cautiously glanced at the expressionless Mr. Kin and smiled. Mu-Yun grabbed Kinyu's shoulder, and bang bang was 2 punches. Let you kid pretend to me. Mu-Yun and Kinyu looked at each other and smiled, as if they had seen the funny appearance of those white-skinned strong men holding their crotches and screaming. Ahem. Takos rang out from behind the 2 men, trying to pull the 2 free-spirited people back. Kinyu seemed to be a little jealous of Mr. Kin's appearance, and his back suddenly straightened, returning to the bluffing appearance of the elite. Mu-Yun was even more curious about the identity and status of this Mr. Kin in his heart. Mr. Kin seemed to see through what Mu-Yun was thinking, and with a wave of his hands, the soldiers in the room immediately stood up and left. The last soldier to go out did not forget to close the door when he left. Hello Mu-Yun, I wonder if you have heard of the White Tigers? After everyone left, and only the 3 of them remained in the room, Mr. Kin slowly spoke. Mr. Kin's face became solemn. Perhaps his face can only look solemn. After all, facial paralysis has no other expression. Hearing the name of the White Tiger team, Mu-Yun's mind involuntarily showed a simple embroidered badge. A fierce white tiger with its head open and bloody mouth seemed to be about to bite the throat of the enemy on the other side at any moment. And such embroidery once appeared in battles large and small in the last life. However, there were problems in the country at that time, and the officials had divided into several factions at that time, each fighting for itself. The most appalling thing is that they only appear in battles where the betrayer does not exist. It seems that the base of those who betrayed has been completely abandoned. Instead, protect bases that other Chinese countries are still sheltering. However, at that time, the natural disaster had become more and more serious, and there were countless bosses, and the insect tide was surging. Huajiuo's vitality was greatly damaged, and this legendary White Tiger team, which could defeat 100 enemies, gradually lost news. After all, too many people died in the last days, whether it was the hero bears or the heroes. The living do not have the time and energy to remember them. But the reason why Mu-Yun remembered the White Tigers so deeply was that he had seen this sign in the last holy war. He vaguely remembered that the tightly wrapped psychic at that time threw out several blood shadows from behind him and attacked the thing with him. But unfortunately, Mu-Yun only died some time later than him. The lethality of that thing is simply amazingly terrifying. So much so that Mu-Yun has always been reluctant to call that thing human. He is completely beyond the definition of man. Then again, it was precisely because of that special symbol and the heroic posture of that person that Mu-Yun was more impressed by the name of the White Tigers. There's not a single bag in it. I haven't heard of it yet. Even so, Mu-Yun shook his head. This is not nonsense, you have an unfathomable face. If I've heard of it again, it's full of talent. Mr. Kin's expression must not be as uncomfortable as eating the dumplings. However, this may also have some benefits for his treatment of facial paralysis. Mu-Yun complained in his heart, but he had a serious expression on his face. The White Tiger team is a team directly subordinate to the Hua Kingdom, and only recognizes the head of the Qin family. Hidden in the army in peacetime, it is no different from ordinary soldiers, but the tasks of the White Tigers are given the highest priority. Each mission must also be tightly covered, and must not reveal its own face. Every word of Mr. Qin was loud, which was enough to see how strong Mr. Qin's sense of belonging to the name of the White Tiger team was. And Mu-Yun was also surprised by Mr. Qin's words. What surprised him was not the name of the White Tiger team, or that Mr. Qin told Mu-Yun about this. Instead, he was surprised by the dots of stars in Mr. Qin's eyes at the moment. That was the starlight of hope. This was the first time that Kinyu had seen expressions and colors other than plain from Mr. Kin's body. Could it be that you want to tell me that you are a member of the White Tiger team? Mu-Yun raised his eyebrows. He didn't think that Mr. Kin would suddenly say something inexplicable to himself that had nothing to do with him. That's right. To be precise, I'm the head of the White Tigers. It is also the military master of the Kin family. Mr. Kin nodded and affirmed Mu-Yun's statement. What are you telling me for? Could it be that you still want me to bring the others over? Mu-Yun was a little confused, since it was the Kin family's whole card. Why did he tell himself so early? Could it be that there are too many large troops, and there are traffic jams? Naturally not. The White Tigers are now buried in the ranks and ready to carry out their tasks. Chapter 456. I told you about this matter. It is also the order of the Kin family master. With me as the herald, the White Tigers are at your command at any time in this battle. Mr. Kin's words stunned not only Mu-Yun, who was confused, but also Kinyu, who had already understood most of the official hole cards. He was raised in the Kin family so big, and he didn't know so much until now. As soon as the teacher came, it turned out to be directly the command position. That's also so unfair. Kinyu almost pinched his nose and squatted in a corner crying. But think about it please, this is Mu-Yun, it's his own teacher Mu-Yun. Hey. He deserves it. Mu-Yun is worth it. After all, a lot of things before, Kinyu had almost changed from Mu-Yun's fan to Mu-Yun's fanatical fan. Now there is a faint trend of turning into a brain-dead fan. However, Mu-Yun didn't know what Kinyu was thinking now, and Mu-Yun was directly carried away by happiness. Even began to think that, if this White Tiger team can be directly attributed to themselves, it is simply, I advise you not to have such thoughts. Mr. Kin suddenly spoke, with a little disapproval in his eyes. Although he admitted that Mu-Yun was indeed a gifted and talented person. But he still didn't understand why he temporarily handed over the command of the White Tigers to Mu-Yun. Although there are not many people in the White Tiger team, every one of them is a big killer. Everyone is a 10th order peak, and they are only one step away from being able to enter the palace of the king. If it weren't for this damn Roshizi Meguro white-skinned pig coming out to make trouble, it won't be long before Huajiuo will be able to usher in several powerful king realm powers. That was a great good thing for the Hua kingdom, the Kin family, and even the security of the entire base. Thinking of this, Mr. Kin grinded his teeth with some resentment. It's just that from Mu-Yun's point of view, it is an expressionless face, and his chin moved inexplicably a few times. Do you have mind reading? No, it can't be mind reading. Mu-Yun shouted in surprise at first, but immediately reacted differently. Coco's previous passive skill was mind reading, but as Mu-Yun's strength improved, the energy in his body was abundant. There is also the existence of the field, which can almost be called a plug-in. He can even sense it at the current stage, when Coco first reads his inner thoughts. It can even interfere, or tamper with a certain amount. But just now he didn't feel any feeling of being read minds. What exactly? Mu-Yun stared at Mr. Kin tightly, his eyes were completely full of curiosity. However, Mr. Kin did not hide it from Mu-Yun, and he did not know if Qin Xianming had given an order. Mr. Kin very easily revealed his powers directly. It's a low-end version of the foresee of the future. Mu-Yun was keenly aware that Mr. Kin's words seemed to have self-deprecating meaning. I can only see someone's mind for the next 5 seconds. And the words spoken, or the actions made. It's not the traditional prediction of the future. But before Mu-Yun could ask a question, Mr. Kin said first. It's already very powerful, Mr. Kin. Kinyu praised sincerely. Mr. Kin also gave Kinyu a smile, that did not smile. But Kinyu understood that this meant that Mr. Kin was really happy. Could it be that you mean you always saw the world 5 seconds later? Such a special ability Mu-Yun is unheard of. Not to mention seeing it in person. Such powers, as long as used properly, can be more powerful than predicting the future. where is it still a low match? It's really wrong to treat the baby as garbage, so to speak. Mr. Qin nodded, reluctantly agreeing with Mu Yun's statement. Eileen, it's just. Mu Yun almost said dirty words directly with excitement, and now he didn't even care about the matter that Mr. Qin spied on his heart just now. However, soon Mu Yun thought of something again, and shook his head with some sighs. Unfortunately, it's only 5 seconds. If it takes a little longer, it can be regarded as a realistic version of the old age. Mr. Qin didn't care about Mu Yun's attitude changing in an instant. Or rather, he has already seen it. Naturally, he would not give out what he had, and Mr. Qin also hid a little secret about his powers. So I was arranged by the Qin family master to assist Qin Yu. Mr. Qin glanced at Mu Yun with some deep meaning, with some warning in his eyes. Mu Yun understood that it was his heart voice just now that made Mr. Qin a little wary of himself. However, Mu Yun did not care. After all the things in the previous life, he understood that these cards of Hua Jiuo were more loyal than one. Just now, it was just a slight idea, for the white tigers, he didn't really want a prior corner. Mr. Qin's gaze gradually softened. He has seen the minds of too many people, and naturally he can easily see whose thoughts are true or false. Feeling the change in Mr. Qin's eyes, Mu Yun felt a little helpless in his heart. Grandmas, no wonder I don't feel anything. Emotional people belong to time and space warriors, isn't this pure trickery? Can your powers be used for long distances? Soon, a thought flashed in Mu Yun's mind very quickly, and he asked Mr. Qin. About 100 meters radius. I see what you mean, but I advise you not to think about it. Your idea, whether it's the white tigers or myself, has tried. My body can't withstand the transfer of the spatial power. Mr. Qin said quickly, shattering Mu Yun's newly raised thoughts. In this way, it is really a bit chicken. Mu Yun muttered softly, in exchange for Mr. Qin's expressionless nod. Indeed, I think the same way as you. But even so, Mr. Qin has already reached this position in China with his own ability. Mu Yun guessed that he still had something he hadn't said. I see, the dispatch of the white tigers is temporarily placed with me. It's still the same as other soldiers. If there is a special mission, I will arrange it as soon as possible. Mu Yun learned so many things, and his heart quickly arranged. The more comprehensive you know the function of the chess pieces in your hand, you can maximize the role of the chess pieces. The so-called most terrible thing is not the enemy on the surface, but the enemy hidden in the secret. Mu Yun knew this well in his heart. What's more, he was still waiting for the actions of those who had not yet acted in secret. Chapter 457. In the darkness, the light of the stars is extinguished. A man dressed in soldier-style clothes stood straight in the doorway, and there was darkness behind him. It is a powerful warrior belonging to the Hua kingdom, and it will definitely not retreat, because of unknown darkness and danger. What's more, there are generals in it who they are ordered to protect. This is Hua Jiuo's sincerity? A district general, just come and teach us how to do things? A hoarse voice came from the darkness, with a slight dissatisfaction in his tone. If Mu Yun was here now, he would definitely be able to hear it at the first time. Isn't this the 025? I can still talk well just now, how can I drag 25,800,000 at once? The general, who was also in the dark, obviously felt that the atmosphere around him was not very comfortable. Your assassin order is here, to cooperate with the military. Do you still want to do the opposite? General Kim said with a frown. At that time, when he opened the door, he saw his wife and daughter looking at him with red eyes, and he became murderous in an instant. If it hadn't been noticed that they were just a little frightened, there were no external injuries on their bodies. He just fought for this old life, not this hat of General Roshizi, but also to wash the blood of this notorious assassin organization. It is a pity that General Jin's strength is currently in the middle of the 8th order. For ordinary superpowers, he is already a very powerful master. However, because I'm older, I used to be responsible for some civilian work such as management. although he relied on the foundation laid when he was young and fought with enthusiasm to reach the Eighth Order, the more he went on, the more he felt weak in his successor. He was anxious, but he also knew that this might be fate. Therefore, I have been doing my best to cultivate my loyal subordinates and daughters strong. But I don't know what happened to their old Jin family. There are really few masters in the younger generation. This is also when the assassin organization delivers news, and the first person to find the door is General Jin. The assassin organization has never been afraid of retaliation from others. After all, their enemies are already countless. Relying on the powerful people of the King Realm, they will be able to stand tall in the last days. How so? We just need a little money for the journey. After all, such a long way, the brothers in the organization are tired and rushing to kill people along the way. You have to pay for the journey. Zero said with a bright bloody smile. The coercion of the King Realm supernatural suppressed General Jin invisibly. General Kim was depressed, but he knew that he had no means of negotiation, and he didn't know why he had picked on him. 10th order crystal nuclei, and those with unlimited attributes, are already very cheap. The diminutive number 9 helped on the side. This time the sudden price increase, that is, the 9th saw that Mu Yun and the others had left Kyoto. Maybe they had reached the border at this time, and suddenly the lion opened his mouth. At that time, he took something and killed someone, and he was not caught by Mu Yun. The task on the official side of the Chinese state was also completed perfectly, and naturally he would not say anything more. After all, how can anyone pass their own laughingstock to others? The assassin order's plan was perfect. Thinking that God can unknowingly get more benefits, it is not a trip in vain. 5. No more. General Jin crushed a mouthful of silver teeth, and said it almost word by word, so that he did not blurt out the dirty words of scolding his mother. The identity is placed here, and it is somewhat estimated that the face of the official of the Chinese state is somewhat estimated. General Jin's intentions are not very sincere, but for your sake. Let's each take a step back. How about 8? Number 9 is known as Fast Man in the Assassin Order. There are 1, 2, 3. One is a well-known reason. The second is to run fast. The third is that the words on the lips are like a machine gun, and the sudden and endless talk. 6. Also abruptly was the mouth of number 9, as well as General Kim's temple now. Deal. Almost as soon as General Jin finished speaking, the 9th immediately threw out such a sentence. General Kim froze in place at once. Damn, why didn't this kid follow the script? Shouldn't it be another round or two? Shouldn't it be your dishonesty? What a thing this is. General Kim is really atmospheric. Kyugsan is extraordinary. It's different from us at a glance, honest and trustworthy human light. Then we will wait here for your fare, and we will leave as soon as the fare arrives. Guaranteed not to miss a shot. Number 9 bent down with a smile, and bowed in the direction of General Jin. This made General Kim feel as uncomfortable as eating dumplings. Also mushy mouth. Number 10, let's go. Zero's hoarse voice reappeared, and General Jin only saw the black shadow on the ground retreating little by little. Obviously, he didn't move, but his shadow involuntarily broke away from it with the departure of the black shadow. The general's wife, whose face was also full of tears, and had a towel stuffed in her mouth, was exposed from the black shadows. Seeing this, General Jin hurriedly stepped forward and hurriedly loosened the general's wife. Fortunately, the general's wife just cried tired and slept, and was not treated well. Damn, these fucking bastards. General Jin gave a look, and the soldiers behind him immediately retreated, and went to deliver the news to Qin Shianming. After a while, the soldier brought back Qin Shianming's news. Hard work General Jin, the matter of crystal nuclei will be sent to the house immediately. Please cultivate well, and greet you when the war is over. After the soldier read the words on the paper in his hand, his eyes looked in the direction of General Jin worriedly. Has the crystal nucleus arrived? General Jin recovered the general's wife, his eyes full of pity. Fortunately, his baby daughter is not at home today, otherwise the two will be frightened again together. Even he was going crazy. It's already outside the door. The soldier replied. General Jin said an address, which was written on a note that Black Shadow had slipped into his hand out of thin air before he left. I think that hand should be the hand number 10 in their mouth. I hope there won't be a second time like this. Strengthen the control around this. As long as there are any more people who act strangely, arrest them immediately. General King paused and added. Some special weapons can be used. Understood. The soldier bowed his head and whispered in response. General Kim means that he is a killer. Repeated disregard, breaking the rules, and even threatening the personal safety of his wife. General Kim did not think he had to put up with it any longer. Chapter 458. There are always people who have to pay for breaking the rules. The trap has been laid out, and the crystal nucleus is the bait. He wants to make them pay for their greed. General Kim. A soldier came in from outside the door, his expression less calm than usual. Swallow something, have something to say quickly. General Kim's face was distorted, clearly blinded by anger. Just now, above sent someone to send a message, to tell you not to act rashly. That's the end of the matter. This soldier has been responsible for the safety and security of the Kim family from the beginning. Although it is said that it was an order sent from above, in the last days, it was General Jin who helped their family. The human heart is inherently long. Naturally, the soldiers put the interests of the Jin family first. Bang. Damn old men. Isn't the face of my Jin family important? The life of my Jin family is not life. General Kim's fist slammed the table. At the beginning of the apocalypse, General Kim ate purple devil fruits. The power is the strengthening of the right fist. Now General Kim was angry, punching down, and the hard marble shattered the ground. Some have even turned into a pile of powder under General Kim's iron fist. The soldier who passed the message couldn't help but shrink a little. In his impression, General Kim has always been a calm general. I've never seen such a gaffe. General, now the front line still needs this assassin organization. It's better for us to endure it for a while. The soldier was also kind. After all, he couldn't get by with the official at this time. It is simply to directly charge himself with treason. What's more, that legendary Dragon Court City Lord was a decisive figure in killing. If something bad happened, and was targeted by Mu Young's madman, I'm afraid that he would not be able to retreat easily. You know, a fart. General Kim yelled, and Yu Guang saw that his wife on the side was still unconscious. It even touched the anti-scales in his heart, and even this soldier who was responsible for protecting the personal safety of his family brought some complaints. Okay, I'm going to make you pay. General Kim squinted his eyes and gradually calmed down. At the same time, where he did not pay attention, the general's wife gradually woke up. Ammon, a weak voice sounded from the side. Even such a subtle voice was thunderous in General Kim's ears. He rushed straight to the bed with a brisk stride. His face immediately changed into a worried expression. Madam. How are you? Did those bastards hurt you? General Jin asked cautiously, and even his voice was much softer. At the same time, he gave a look to the soldier next to him, who was already frightened and stupid. The soldier reacted immediately, gave a military salute, closed the door and walked out. No, just fainted, nothing big problem. The general's wife shook her head, her face pale but unconvincing. General Jin opened his mouth to say something, but was stopped by the general's wife. You listen to me first. I heard something you said just now. The current situation must not tear the face with the official, and the conditions they want are given to them. Left and right are not out of us. The general's wife's breath gradually became smoother, although it was like a gossamer, but General Jin did not interrupt. Instead, he quietly listened to the words of the general's wife. To be honest, General Kim used to be just a hairy boy. After 2 years in the army, I look right with my current wife. I don't know what shit luck went. The general's wife was related to the Zhang family of the 4 major families in Kyoto now. In addition, General Jin himself has some talent, and he has slowly mixed into this position for decades. But before he could enjoy a few days of General's days, this damn apocalypse had come. Damn green monsters, mutated humans, black acid rain falling from the sky. Wait, etc. Suddenly, General Jin is also trying to improve himself, plus the protection of the Zhang family in Kyoto. It can be regarded as surviving until now. For such a long time, the general's wife was the invisible military master of the Jin family. It can even be said that it is the military master of General Kim's life. If he loses the general's wife, General Kim is in a headless situation. So when it comes to knowing that the general's wife has been attacked, there is even a potential unknown danger. General Kim panicked, and at one point even thought he was going to eat them. So, that's it? General Kim was half kneeling in front of the bed, holding not only the general's wife, but also General Kim's future fate. A cold light flashed in the general's wife's eyes. We can't help them, just let those who can kill them do it. When the thing arrives, you put this on top of a crystal nucleus. Then put the news to Mu Yun, the 10th order crystal nucleus. It is impossible for him not to be moved. As for the above, you also have to sell miserable. My poor health has long been known to everyone, and then make some appearances from there. It's best if you can get something back. It doesn't matter if you can't. The general's wife covered her mouth with her hand and coughed heavily. A white thing the size of an insect egg suddenly appeared in the palm of the general's wife's hand. I see. With the skill of speaking, the general's wife has obviously arranged everything. The two have experienced life and death together, and have lived for such a long time, and what the other party is thinking, and what intentions they are naturally aware of. General Jin nodded, and took the white worm egg from the general's wife's hand. Seeing the general's wife close her eyes reassuringly, General Jin slowly walked out of the room. The process of placing worm eggs is very easy. After all, the 10th order crystal nucleus is precious, and General Jin is obliged to check the quantity. The moment the worm egg touches the crystal nucleus, it immediately blends into it. Just between breaths, the eggs disappeared, and the surface of the crystal nucleus became smooth again. You go and tell Mu Yun that the assassin organization has 7 more 10th order crystal nuclei in their hands, which is an official reward. General King closed the safe, and whispered to the soldier holding it. There was no change in the soldier's face, as if he hadn't heard it. The two only checked for a moment, and then staggered. But both knew it. This soldier is a pawn that the Zhang family has long placed in the official. Not long after, when this soldier could not be seen in the Jin family's team, General Jin felt a little relieved in his heart. This showed that the news had been passed to Mu Yun according to his ideas. This will inevitably cause a rift between the Dragon Court and the official Qin family. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 459. At that time, Mu Yun's choice will be particularly important. If the Zhang family, who was the first to show favor, can sit in a higher position, then the Jin family will definitely be able to ascend to heaven. Here the Jin family was thinking carefully, and the sky-high safe also flowed to the assassin organization in the dark. Chief, this crystal nucleus is just right for your attributes. You absorbed him. Zero took a piece of a 10th order crystal nucleus on the surface, and handed it to number 7. The level of number 7 is far from catching up with itself, which is the most important reason why number 7 until now, even with the assistance of number 0, cannot sit firmly in the position of leader. Number 7 held the 10th order crystal nucleus, and the energy in it was constantly surging. He only absorbed part of it briefly, and he felt that he was about to cross that faint boundary. Unfortunately, the assassin order was all dispatched this time. 0 and number 7 act together, and number 9 is responsible for concealing their stature and speeding up their journey to the front. It's okay, you absorb it here, and I will show you with number 9. Just absorb half of it. Zero's hoarse voice sounded in the dilapidated building, and although it was not loud, it was able to reach everyone's ears. Number 7 nodded, understanding that time was urgent, and without saying anything more, he directly put his legs on the plate, holding the crystal nucleus, and began to absorb. The energy contained in the 10th order crystal nucleus is huge enough, and he has to absorb it slowly and carefully to ensure that he is not directly crushed by the energy of the 10th order crystal nucleus. On the dusty ground, a black figure slowly approached number 7, who was engrossed. Zero stepped on the ground, shaking the entire building 3 times. Number 9, what are you going to do? The black shadow gradually rose from the ground and melted into a black shadow. Don't be so petty, Zero. I know that the crystal nuclei in this box are not going to be distributed to the rest of the organization. But since I saw it, I always have to ask for some hush money. The 9th was already approaching Zero at this time, and it was not far from the 7th. Zero snorted coldly inside his nose. He knew that number 9, the 2nd and 5th boys, had always had this kind of thought. Of course, he can directly kill number 9. But in terms of speed alone, even the 0 of the King realm is somewhat inferior to the number 9 of the late 10th order. Even if no 9's combat ability is not strong, as long as he has a knife in his hand, he can directly injure number 7, who is absorbing crystal nuclei. Number 7 is likely to be unstable and be shattered by the energy in the crystal nucleus in his mind. Moreover, they still need the 9th to take them to the front. It's always right to save some combat power before assassination. Take it, get out of here. Zero almost made it clear in his mind that the interests were right and wrong. Took a nucleus from the safe and threw it to number 9. Number 9 greedily received the crystal nucleus into his arms and did not absorb it immediately. He has to guard against the tiger-eyed 0 and the 7, who can wake up at any time. 0 is also for this reason, so he did not choose to absorb the crystal nucleus now. When the assassination mission is completed, they can find a safe place to absorb crystal nuclei, and the risk is much lower than now. Number 7 suddenly opened his eyes, and a trace of flame burning instantly appeared on the ground. Even the concrete floor was burned by the extremely high temperature to create a crack. Very good, it seems that it is only a little short of the middle of the king. When the task is completed and returns to the organization, these crystal nuclei are enough for both of us to ascend to the late stage of the king. 0 was dumb, and the 5 crystal nuclei brought a thirst for strength and a fantasy of a better future. At that time, Mu Yun was something. He wanted to return all the humiliation he had suffered to Mu Yun. No, return it to him 1,000 times over. The pleasure of revenge flashed in Zero's eyes, and he seemed to have seen that day coming. In fact, if it weren't for number 7, this smelly boy who he raised since childhood, he would have run directly with the crystal nucleus. What a multinational coalition, oh fuck. He is a King Realm powerhouse, who else can get him? Even after the 7 crystal nuclei were absorbed, he could still see the scenery above the king. Thinking of this, Zero let out a long sigh in his heart. What kind of patriotism is this kid engaged in? You an assassin should have a fart patriotism. When the country of China dies, isn't the wanted warrant of the country of China a piece of waste paper? No. Zero looked at number 7, who patted the dust on his body, and number 9, who was full of smiles on his face, and his heart was panicked. Forget it, after all, it is their own child, and their minds are still not mature enough. That's right. I'm almost in the middle of the king. No, 7's face was full of excitement, and he said and swung a flame to smash into the load-bearing column beside him. Who knew that the load-bearing column made of concrete was deformed by the flames in an instant? The floor slab above began to crumbling, and the next second it was going to hit several people. Number 9. With Zero's order, number 7 only felt that he had not had time to feel happy, and one arm was grabbed by number 9 and ran to the outside of the rotten building. The moment they left, the rotten building collapsed. The dust that was raised was also ignited by the flames, and the small burning disappeared in an instant. Fortunately, this is a wilderness, and there are no animals or people that should not be introduced. Okay, let's go on a mission. After killing those white-skinned pigs, we will find a safe place to absorb crystal nucleides. Zero's eyes inadvertently glanced at number 9, who was running with all his strength, and the killing intent was obvious. Number 7 understood what Zero was thinking in an instant, and it seemed that this number 9 also took a crystal nucleus. It's time to kill. Good. And Mises' number 9 is also immersed in his dream of entering the realm of kings. I didn't expect that I had already caused the scourge of killing. At this time, in the command room of Redgate Town, the small bungalow was crowded with many supernatural beings of 5 or 3 thick sizes. Most of these were flesh-line powerhouses who had eaten the purple devil fruit. Some of the other psychic beings are all well-dressed and neatly dressed, and they don't look like ordinary superpowers. In each base, it is also like a guest of honor. There are even some family heads headed by the Lion family. The Lion family, as the family with the highest status among them, is naturally the last to shine. After all, the big boss always has to be the last to appear. The moment the Lion family master appeared, the sound of chattering in the room was much smaller, and even made way for the big boss. Lion Xiang, a big man, waved his hand directly when he saw Mu Yun. Boss Mu Yun. Lion Xiang's voice was so loud that even the enamel jar on the table trembled and made a creaking sound. Chapter 460. Call the Soul. Mu Yun plucked his ears angrily. Lion Xiang laughed twice, scratching his head, and not daring to squeak under the threat of his father's eyes. Kin family boy, Mu Yun, we are all here, when will we cut people? That's it, my big eagle. Oh no, the big knife is already hungry and thirsty. Our brothers don't have any errands, you say. Let's play striker at the East 100 base. Look at me, Zao Xian along, kill him 7 in and 7 out. One by one, everyone was enthusiastic about the righteousness of the country, shouting and even eager to be the first to go to the battlefield. As for the loss of what bases? To be honest, those who can come here don't have those careful thoughts. Those who have the idea of preserving strength do not dare to come, and then they have to be poked in the spine and called a traitor. Public opinion has taken the moral high ground and can be pointed at any time. Uncles, aunts, brothers, and sisters, thank you for trusting Huajiuo and trusting the Qin family. I thank you first on behalf of the official. Qin Yu saw that the people had gathered before he spoke. A deep bow followed. Oh, what are you doing with these nothingness? Thank you, this is all what we should do. The others all expressed their views on Qin Yu's actions. Especially the eldest brothers of several Dongbei bases, their voices are even much bigger than Lion Xiang. Mu Yun stood close, and felt that his face was full of spit stars. You said how we should line up now. We all listened to Mu Yun, and the Qin family boy. Obviously, some of the main forces of the family represented by the Lion family know more things from the Lion family. Compared to the Qin family kid, he still believes in the powerful Dragon Court City Lord. But the scene is talking, and you have to talk about it at any time. Then let the Supreme Processor tell us about it. Qin Yu naturally understood what everyone meant, and did not refute it, but took a step back, and gave up the C position to Mu Yun. As for the formation of troops, everyone will receive a layout in a moment. Each force has to do something different, so everyone must follow the instructions in the layout. And what we have to do now is wait. Mu Yun smiled and glanced at Zhongli, who didn't know when he was quietly standing at the door. Zhongli nodded and distributed the different layouts in his hand to different people in front of him. I'll look at what is written. 3 o'clock in the morning at the Dongbei base. 5 o'clock in the morning on the side of the Wang family. This. Everyone looked at each other, and their eyes were confused. It seems that everyone's things are not next to each other, and even the time and place are different. Isn't this just dispersing yourself, and giving it to the enemy to eat? What exactly does this supreme handler think? Everyone hesitated to look at the mysterious Mu Yun, and then at Qin Yu, who looked calm, and seemed to have anticipated everything. Such a way of fighting is really strange, and it will have to wait. What are you waiting for? Waiting for the enemy to come? It's better for them to go home, and pack up now, and think about whether their name is Smith or David. Or the owner of the Lion family properly put away the layout plan in his hand. Then the Lion family will go to rest first, and everything is under the command of the Supreme Handler. The Lion family must follow the instructions in the layout plan, to do 100%. After that, the Lion family master and Lion Xiang exited the small room from the same way they came. Arriving late and leaving early, it's simply crooked. You don't need to bother with brain cells, how cool it is. The Lion family lord felt good in his heart. As long as they have seen Mu Yun's power, they will definitely not question the decision made by Mu Yun. People from other families obediently bowed their heads when they saw the leader, the Lion family. What else did they have to ask? Say goodbye directly, and return to the place of rest. Everyone basically acts in the wee hours of the morning. It's 8 or 9 o'clock, so I have to hurry back to sleep. Today's young people are all night owls, and the old people have to take care of themselves. The rest of the people are a small number of retail investors. Most of them have run away. How can retail investors not follow? Soon, there were only 3 people left in the room of the bungalow, Mu Yun, Qin Yu and Mr. Qin. The 3 knew what was about to happen, and waited for the news to arrive. Just 3 hours ago, a message was whipped from Kyoto. After Mu Yun opened the envelope with the 4 big characters written on Mu Yun's personal enlightenment, he frowned suspiciously after reading it. Qin Yu also leaned over to see the contents inside. Teacher, do you usually have contact with the Jin family? Qin Yu asked strangely. The Jin family is just a small family with clothes under the Zhang family, and the green smoke from the ancestral tomb produces such a fragrant food as General Jin. The level of special energy is not high, and I don't know how to enter Mu Yun's eyes. Qin Yu couldn't help but think of that young woman of the general who supported the wind, but still had the charm. Suddenly, it became clear. Oh. Teacher, you fancy. Qin Yu's face was a little flirtatious and ridiculous. Look at the last hook. Mu Yun's temples are protruding. He still has a young and beautiful wife at home, right? Huh. Did you fancy General Qin? No, that old man is the same age as my father. I didn't expect the teacher's taste to be quite unique. Qin Yu took 2 steps back, his face a little panicked. Mu Yun glanced at him speechlessly, and held back from giving them a big sinus. Can't you see that people want us to have a mutual disagreement? Mu Yunayang raised the letter in Yang's hand that said official payment of 7 10th order crystal nuclei to hire the Dark Crow organization. Impossible, there is no official 10th order crystal nucleus at all. I still have that confidence. Mr. Qin frowned expressionlessly, and his tone was 100% determined. Then the Dark Raven organization won't all be fools, right? Can't you see this? Qin Yu asked a little strangely. However, Mr. Qin only glanced at Qin Yu hesitantly, before saying the next words. I think it should be Miss Yang of the Dragon Group. Her powers are illusions, and she can even confuse 10th order peak powers. Mr. Qin hesitated to speak. After all, Qin Yu and Mu Yun should not know about the Dragon Group. This belongs to the whole card of the country of China like the White Tigers. The battle has not yet been fought, and the whole cards have been lifted one after another. He wasn't worried about Qin Yu, as long as he hoped that Mu Yun wouldn't become an enemy. So it is. Mu Yun nodded, and he had a general idea in his heart. He glanced down at the paper in his hand, when the Chinese words changed into a new sentence. Neither Mr. Qin nor Qin Yu saw that new message. It seems that it is another thing that I don't know about. Kinyu shrugged helplessly, already accustomed to the situation, that he knew very little about his family for so many years. Chapter 461. It's all the same, whether this 10th order crystal nucleus is real or not, they will all die. Mu Yun's face showed a murderous aura. As for the Kim family, at the moment, it is just a chance to hold your thighs, and the careful thinking hidden in the secret will not lead to the death penalty. Because Mu Yun is the Dragon Court City Lord, not an official person. But if he told Qin Shinming about this, there would be no good fruit from the Jin family to eat. He has to let others know, keep deepening, and always use facts to brainwash, don't try to provoke Longting. Kinyu and Mu Yun got along for a little longer, and under Mu Yun's appearance, they occasionally revealed some murderous energy, and they slowly became proficient. Time returns to the present, night falls. Perhaps because of the end times, there are more stars in the sky. The stars twinkle and the night is inky. A sharp knock on the door caused the three people in the room to look together. Please come in. Somehow, when he said this, his heart pounded terribly. As if it were an omen before something big, a knock knocked on the gears of time. Levy, the special general of the American army in the multinational coalition, is dead. The soldier's face turned red with too much excitement, and he suppressed his voice, to prevent himself from shouting. This name, no wonder it is the largest officer in the United States. Great. After all, Kinyu was younger, and clapped his hands quickly. The soldier bowed his head slightly and retreated. He understood that this was only part of the plan, and no matter what he said after that, he was not qualified to participate. The door lock sounded again, and the wooden door closed with a sound. The teacher is really like a god. I originally thought that the damn assassin organization thought that he had taken the 10th order crystal nucleus and ran away. Teacher, Mr. Qin, then our plan for the future is. Kinyu happily voiced some of his previous doubts. I didn't expect these assassins to preach morality. Mu Yun smiled, naturally seeing what Kinyu was thinking. It may be that illusion that quietly exerts certain psychological hints on them. Now think about it, the time is just right. Mr. Qin, am I right? Mu Yun glanced at Mr. Qin and said. Mr. Qin nodded hesitantly, since he had revealed to them something that might be an illusion before. There was nothing to hide now. That Miss Yang who used illusion powers had some special abilities, and I didn't know how long she could fool the assassins of the King Realm. But for Huajiuo, Levi died, and that was enough. As for the plan after that, isn't it already arranged? Mu Yun smiled mysteriously, causing Kinyu to immediately react to the meeting they had held before. It's 12 o'clock. Kinyu raised his wrist, and the pointer crossed exactly 12 o'clock in the morning, entering the next day. Even Mr. Qin raised his head incredulously, to look at Mu Yun. Since he suffered from the sequelae of supernatural energy, even he himself has rarely had such violent ups and downs. What a godman this is, with such a precise grasp of time. Even beyond human standards, you're proud, boy. A crisp voice sounded in Mu Yun's heart. He easily recognized that it was Yi Hanayu's voice, and that eccentric brain, as if God was specifically biased, gave him the best things. It has to be you. Mu Yun's voice entered Yi Hanayu's mind through the internet, and her cheerful feet that were cocked because of watching anime jumped off. There was even a melodious titty on his mouth. I don't know if I'll learn it from that anime again. Even such a sentence was enough for Yi Hanayu to be happy for a long time. Wow, click. Queen Ben is worthy of being the invincible first intelligent beautiful girl in the universe. Yi Hanayu's powers are becoming more and more refined, and the planning of the plan will also become more and more sophisticated. The chain reaction of one link after another no longer looks like a so-called planned action, but a beautiful work of art. At 12 o'clock, the Lion family began to act. Mr. Qin muttered, with his amazing memory, when all the forces acted, had been accurately imprinted in his mind. As the first Linoop of the Lion family, Mu Yun will naturally reveal some of the bottom to them a little, and it is Mu Yun who is most moral and exciting. What? Are you going over? Kinyu looked at Muyun with some incredulity. They had never discussed this matter. Therefore, Kinyu was not sure whether this was Muyun's whim or if it had already been part of the plan. In the face of Kinyu's doubts, Muyun did not have any need to explain. Don't worry, this battle will be won. You do a good job of logistics support in the rear, and those soldiers with healing ability, there is no need to hide it. All of them are human spirits here, and you still have something to learn. Muyun smiled and teased Kinyu's careful thoughts, and after speaking, he turned and left the room. Really? Kinyu turned back to Mr. Kin with a sad face. Mr. Kin could only nod. How could so many people hide? At this moment, Kinyu wanted to cry without tears, and with the secret weapon he wanted to take out to suppress the crowd, he could become a clear card. As far as he was concerned, he thought that he had hidden it from everyone. Then let them be ready to heal the wounded who come down from the battlefield. Mr. Kin nodded to do it. To be honest, he was also curious about how Muyun would appear on the battlefield. And how it will affect the battlefield. On this side, the moment Muyun went out and turned his head, Zhongli was already standing on the side of the door with the 7 Kills group. City Lord. The 7 Kills group has arrived, ready to follow you to the battlefield at any time. Zhongli stepped forward, and unlike her calm appearance, there was a blazing flame burning in her eyes. Good. Let's go. Muyun waved his big hand, and the domain instantly surrounded the surrounding 7 killing groups. Muyun soared into the air, and everyone surrounded by the realm rose at the same time. Everyone had eager expressions, and none of them even had a trace of fear on their faces. Woohoo, finally able to do a big job. It's much cooler than killing those disgusting monster bugs. Don't worry about retaliation yet, Fanzaoki smiled, not looking like he was going to the battlefield at all. The ice blade in his hand wielded a shining light, and it looked more like a layer of silver under the moonlight. It is more like a decorative flower act than a weapon, but any enemy who has seen the ice blade will be beheaded by her. Chapter 462. You better be careful. Healing somehow suddenly opened her mouth, and wanted to say something, but was immediately covered by Fanzaoki jumping on her feet. Don't say it, don't say it. The others giggled when they saw it. No one does not know the power of Healing's crow mouth, and they believe that Healing's power is a crow mouth more than her light power. Soon, Muyun led the 7 Kills group to the city wall of Hangman Town. It was already 10:12. Oh my god, Missy is really powerful. She has even calculated the footsteps of the lion family. Yihan Ayu did not shy away from the 7 Kills group and Ayu Dazhuang when she transmitted her plan to Muyun. This is a big matter, not to mention that these people are all people from the Dragon Court, and they are still involved in such a plan. There is no need to keep them in the dark. Yihan Ayu is known to everyone in the Dragon Court, how smart she is. Even if Yihan Ayu's initial plan for the Dragon Court, I'm afraid that the Dragon Court would not have developed so rapidly. In this aspect, Yihan Ayu said that second, no one in the world dares to say that he is the first. Looking down from the city wall, not far away is the tall open-work red gate, about 5 meters wide, which served as a landmark building to attract tourists to check in and take photos before the end times. Now the building has long been empty, and there are even some stone materials for decoration, which have been corroded by the black rain and are crumbling. After passing the red gate, a naturally formed river flows down the snowy mountains in the north, passes through 5 or 6 countries, and finally runs towards the eastern sea. Naturally, Huajiuo will not be its terminus. The moonlight quietly shone on the surface of the river, looking like a quiet girl. But the constantly washed riverbank will tell you that this is definitely like a women's clothing boss. Open it and show you a big baby. In such a rushing river, fish can grow scuds, so it cannot give multinational coalitions the opportunity to supplement protein. Farther away, a black tent has long lost any disguise in the eyes of the supernatural. Even some space talents of Eagle countries directly made a prefabricated building, which is equipped with water, electricity and heating. It is made by the water psychic, the lightning psychic and the fire psychic. It is said that the base for such a building was built, and even these three kinds of supernatural beings were squeezed out a lot. The base is naturally full of pots. It is said that it is still being improved, but I don't know what version I see now. Nguyen smacked his mouth a little enviously, and went back to mention it to the people of the construction department. If people can do the project, Longting will definitely be able to do it. But I have always thought that the practicality is not high, but now it seems that it can be sold to the wronged head of the Eagle Country. Offensive. Boom. The voice of the Lion family master, Nguyen, was very familiar. After that, he saw three huge meteorite-like stones falling from the sky, dragging strong flames behind him, and smashing straight into the camp of the multinational coalition army. Because the multinational coalition is not as united and harmonious as imagined, most of it is because interests are tied together. The special colonel of the American army suddenly died violently in his tent, and not only American soldiers, but also other countries came and went. Now in a chaotic mess, the United States exerts its faceless spirit and wants to take advantage of this opportunity to rob some benefits. Unexpectedly, eating hot pot, singing, just out of the tent, I was killed by bandits. Oh no, the meteorite was smashed. On the other side of the river are enemies. This fact strikes the spirit of the multinational coalition. One by one, scolding and scolding, how is it different from the script saying good? Say yes and turn around, those shrunken turtles shrunking the city wall can give the baby out. At the same time, Nguyen saw a person pushing a wheelchair to push an unconscious person away. From skill release to fainting, to grip, turning, pushing away, moving clouds and water, the skillful is distressing. It's a one-time thing. Nguyen twitched the corner of his mouth helplessly. At this time, the various powers of the Lion family army were kicked off by three meteorites, and what thunder and lightning storms, heavy rain and stabs, all of them greeted one by one. In an instant, the American Legion facing the gate of Hangman Town directly killed and injured more than half. A sound of shit accompanied by holy god, which made the Chinese people very refreshed to hear. Damn, I'm going to electrocute them. Lean. Why is this water so urgent? My flames are almost bleeding before they cross the river. Damn, the foreign devils are fighting back. Everyone pay attention to the formation. Everyone became serious again, and the power in their hands was not released like money. Seeing the colorful fireworks across the river accompanied by screams, I feel as happy as the new year. One person can be able to reach an ordinary army, but this is also a powerful person to ordinary people. Those who can stand in this place are naturally not ordinary people. The multinational coalition army was caught off guard by Lion Jiajin, so it did not react at the first time. But after all, it has gone through the baptism of cruel apocalypse, and the counterattack naturally came quickly. A heavenly thunder exploded out from the thick clouds, and slashed straight into a person's arm, and even the Lion family members who were relatively close to him were also injured by mistake. But the man's arm was immediately scorched black, and the skin was open. Ripe. The man cursed angrily, and regardless of the pain, he immediately took a few steps back. Immediately, someone nearby took his place, and kept the formation intact. Have a good doctor. Before the man finished shouting, he saw 5 men of 3 thick hands shining holy light approaching him. The Shu family is here. The man held his arm, and did not dare to use force, for fear that his arm would accidentally be blown up and fall off. The strong man simply healed, and let him pull to the back, to receive more formal treatment. Am I doing well? Good, great. The strong man got the answer he wanted, smiled shyly and ran to the next wounded fighter. The two sides are at war, and the banks of the river are naturally colorful and beautiful. The special energy of the Lion family army is mainly based on the fire system special energy, followed by the gold system special energy. The metal supernatural is placed on the front, or the transparent protective cover made of metal is opened, like a huge shell. Only those inside attack the outside, and those outside cannot attack the inside. But over time, the energy of the golden system will eventually run out. The golden powerhouse responsible for protecting everyone struggled to support it, and finally drained the last trace of energy. Carry it away. Lion Xiang instantly took his original position, and collided with the American soldiers who crossed the water from the river. It's pretty tough. Lion Xiang gritted his teeth, and his right hand was covered with a layer of metal in an instant, and it swung out heavily with an icy light. Bell. Clang. Clang. Chapter 463. Lion Xiang quickly punched 3 punches, but the person in front of him did not change. Eileen, golden brain case. Lion Xiang spat out a dirty word, and his eyes widened. The American soldier mumbled something that he didn't know what it meant, and his face was very smiling. What bird language do you say? Lion Xiang listened to the fire, and a few green tendons suddenly appeared on the door of his brain. Then he closed his fist, and found that, no matter how hard he tried, the fist that was pinched by the foreign devil could not move at all. A blue light flashed in front of his eyes, exactly the same as the thunder light that counterattacked just now. Lion Xiang secretly said bad things in his heart, but he couldn't help it. My life rests. Lion Xiang looked up to the sky and sighed, and issued a line that exploded from 2 to medium. While the sound of flesh and blood being pierced suddenly appeared in Lion Xiang's ears. Is heaven so cruel? Lion Xiang opened one eye, and it was still dark in front of him. It's just that the right hand can move, and there is no feeling of being bound. The smiling face of the foreign devil didn't know where to run. Heaven is similar to Red Gate Town. Lion Xiang touched the liquid that was splashed on his face and blushed. Heaven, you big-headed ghost. Mu Yun slapped Lion Xiang on the back of the head from behind, and directly gave Lion Xiang a dry blindfold. Hey? How did you go to heaven, benefactor? Lion Xiang was humble, obviously not reacting. What do you think, is the one behind you? Lion Xiang listened to Mu Yun's words, obediently turned around, and saw the face of a foreign devil who rushed towards him. Eileen. Lion Xiang subconsciously shook his fist and directly burst the man's head, and the blood and flesh and brain splattered all over the ground. I'm not dead. I'm not dead, haha. Lion Xiang danced happily, and casually exploded the head of a foreign devil who grabbed his subordinates. Okay, the time is almost up, the Lion family can withdraw. Cultivate well. Mu Yun patted Lion Xiang's generous back, and signaled them to retreat. Why? I haven't. Mu Yun stretched out his finger, and pointed to the Lion family army behind him, which was already less than half at the moment, although most of them were saved by Kinu's medical soldiers interspersed on the battlefield. But in the end, some people fell to the ground without a sound. Even the head was opened by the soldiers of the multinational coalition, and there was no crystal nucleus in it. Sometimes, people are more terrifying than monsters and natural disasters. No matter what life it is, Mu Yun is constantly realizing this. The world has changed, but it doesn't seem to have changed. These bastards. I'll go kill them. Lion Xiang is a reckless character, and his eyes are already red at the sight of it. Withdraw troops. This is the first lesson I taught you. As a leader, you must not be angry. Mu Yun's momentum reached its maximum in an instant, and Lion Xiang, who was in the field, almost didn't kneel down directly. At this time, the owner of the Lion family also rushed to the vicinity, and the multinational coalition army that crossed the river was mainly the nearest American army. Now that they have been completely killed, while other American soldiers are still crossing the river, now is the best time for the Lion family army to retreat. The Lion family master looked down at his watch, 12:45 minutes and 30 seconds. In the plan, the Lion family army retreated at this time, but the layout map of the next nearest Chu family army showed 1 o'clock in the morning. Patriarch Lion and Patriarch Chu also discussed what exactly was planned for these 15 minutes. 15 minutes to deploy an army is really a waste, but if you want to cooperate, the layout plan will obviously be clearly written. But they asked everyone, but these 15 minutes were blank. Is it a closed city? But what's so hard about this? Even so, the Lion family master still chose to believe Mu Yun, and grabbed his son. Thank you for bothering the people, and Anuko thanks to your help. After saying that, he immediately followed the withdrawal of the large army. At this moment, Lion Jiajin has already thrown off the energy of the superpower, and it is almost no different from ordinary people. Originally, the owner of the Lion family was still a little worried about whether there would be villains taking the opportunity to sneak attack. Until I saw an expressionless man standing at the gate of the city, and behind him were three beautiful women with some familiar faces. Mr. Qin. The owner of the Lion family took the lead in greeting. Well, follow him to your place of cultivation. Mr. Qin replied indifferently. Mu Yun's people. It seemed that he was worried, that the Lion family master was worried about what the official was playing, and refused to cooperate, and Mr. Qin moved Mu Yun's name out again. The Lion family master suddenly felt much more at ease in his heart. The sudden scream made everyone look back in the direction where the scream came from. But they saw a scene that they will never forget. The river was turbulent, causing the American soldiers to cross the river slowly. But even so, there were quite a few powerful soldiers on the shore of the river, and it seemed that there were 40 or 50 people in a dense crowd. And the only one who resisted in front was Mu Yun. Everyone's hearts were raised to the throat eye. Field, open. As Mu Yun's words fell, the realm that was originally only about half a meter opened expanded dozens of times, or even 1,000 times 100 times, in an instant. All the American soldiers on the river bank and more than half of the river were covered by Mu Yun's domain. Mu Yun only felt that his energy was falling wildly. Quick victory. From the edge of the field, vines mixed with thunderlight quickly grew, quickly approaching the field like a snake that was shrouded in American soldiers. Vines quickly wrapped around everyone's ankles. Mu Yun's gesture changed from flat to standing, and the vine immediately looked like a frightened king snake, and the front end jumped high, lifting the soldiers one by one into the air. There are soldiers who constantly condense energy, vainly trying to burn, hit or cut the vine, and are bounced back by their own energy the moment the energy touches the vine. Immediately, many people were killed and injured, and they hung their heads, and lost their voices. There were also some strong soldiers who gasped and wanted to try it again without dying, and Mu Yun directly followed the vine, to reward him with a thunderbolt. This time it is not dead, but also scorched and tender. It's so fragrant. You're cruel, and so are you. This cannot be called the human condition anymore, can it? Could it be that the Dragon Court City Lord has become a powerful person in the realm of kings? I haven't heard of it. But it's amazing. +1, +1, +10,086, Lion Jiajin, who had just arrived at the city gate, and had not had time to rest, was fortunate to see this spectacular feast. Dozens of vines rose in the field, like a huge and prosperous tree. It's just that the fruit of this tree is dead. Before leaving, Lion Xiang took a deep look at Mu Yun, and his mind was the dead brothers. He's going to get stronger. Chapter 464. The Lion family lord looked back, and saw such a magnificent and cruel scene. It's really shocking. If Mu Yun has not become a king realm, I'm afraid that no one will believe it. It can be said that one person can reach thousands of troops. Everyone opened their mouths one after another, all of them were surprised by the movement made by Mu Yun's hand. Okay, let's hurry up. The medics over there are still waiting. Oh, Yu Hang stood at the city gate with a knife and urged. After all, the battlefield is such a big place, and now 5 minutes have passed, and 10 minutes later, another force will come to replace the Lion family in this position. The Lion family master nodded, casually moved behind his back, and the Lion family army behind him immediately followed the pace of the person in front. Quickly left the battlefield. Now he knew exactly where those 15 minutes were spent. Mu Yun stood alone about 5 meters away from the riverbank, and the wind on the riverbank blew towards Mu Yun's side. The clothes on Mu Yun's body were hunting. Here it is. Mu Yun whispered, but his eyes were firmly fixed on the opposite side of the river. The wind blew at an untimely time, and the clouds in the sky did not move in the slightest. It's a superpower. City Lord, do you want to go up? Zhang Li's long knife was pointed at the hard ground, and the blood dripping from the tip of the knife had even soaked the ground under the tip of the knife into a small piece of dark red. At some point, Zhang Li led the other 3 people of the 7 kills group to stand beside Mu Yun in the posture of guards. Bang bang. The sound of the body hitting the ground even lasted for a minute before it stopped. The large tree where the vines gathered quickly retracted to the center of the field. Mu Yun waved his hand and spit out a lot of colorful crystal nuclei from various corpses. Fortunately, the space in the small world is large enough to accommodate these crystal nuclei. No, he'll come over himself. Mu Yun shook his head. The arrival of this person was also expected by Yi Hanyu and Mu Yun. These American soldiers who were the first to stand on Chinese soil were precisely this person's subordinates. Other units simply do not have such a quick response and capability. For example, the soldiers of Yi Zhiglo had just emerged from the tent now, opening their bewildered eyes and asking what had happened. As the ace force of the United States, which is the C of the multinational coalition army, it is the most powerful force. Now that Mu Yun directly killed so many of his people, the commander of this unit naturally couldn't sit still. Especially after the death of Army Special General Levy, the other 4 commanders are fighting fiercely. Among them, the person who currently has the greatest chance of winning is this person. Ah, what a wind. Zhang Lan raised an arm to block her eyes, and the wind and sand blown by the wind almost lost her eyes. Here it is. Mu Yun narrowed his eyes. A 10-meter high wave instantly set off above the river, and as soon as it fell, the water splashed fiercely towards Mu Yun and the others. But Mu Yun and the others did not move, and the order in their hearts had been conveyed to everyone's hearts. Liu Meng. Mu Yun opened his mouth slightly, and several people understood it. Received. Liu Meng usually doesn't say much, but at this moment, a flash stepped forward, and the water splashed under his feet. The spear was held in his hand, and danced and whistled. Blue light scattered out on the tip of the gun, stabbed out violently, and the blue light instantly turned into a roaring water dragon. The water dragon roared, and pounced on the high river waves in the sky. While the water dragon and the water column faced each other, and water droplets scattered in the sky, forming a curtain of water. Liu Meng pursed her lips, the spear retracted slightly, and the water energy was transmitted from both hands to the tip of the spear. As soon as it poofed, the water dragon suddenly grew a little stronger. The water column naturally couldn't stand such a powerful water dragon, and it was directly broken through. The water dragon consumed energy and suddenly shrank by about half its size. But there was still a roar, sweeping the waves towards the shore, and the figure standing on the shore at this moment. I saw that the figure waved his hand, and the water dragon was immediately out of Liu Meng's control, and rushed into the river. The river is hit by a water dragon, setting off a huge splash, but eventually contains the water dragon. After a short period of agitation, it was suppressed by a gust of wind, and soon returned to its original calm. Mission accomplished. Liu Meng withdrew the spear, stopped his back, and returned to Zhang Li's side. Well done. Mu Yun nodded in praise. In the information provided by Yi Hanyu, this person is the strength of the peak of the 10th order, and it is already very good that Liu Meng can take the next blow. You are, Mu Yun? Women come out, you coward. Some broken Chinese dialect drifted from the other side of the river, and scolded Mu Yun by name. Commander Gulliver, envy? Mu Yun was not angry and asked him. Envy? Mu Yun smiled when he heard the answer, but he didn't expect that this little foreign devil was quite sincere. Then, a powerful wind blade came towards Mu Yun's face. Mu Yun's domain opened widely, and as soon as the wind blade entered the field, it suddenly stopped in place, unable to advance a single bit. Zhang Li took the lead in speeding up, jumping lightly with the long knife in his hand and directly crossing the long river. The long knife slashed directly with sword key. Gulliver took 2 steps back, and an invisible barrier suddenly opened above his head. Dang. Zhang Li's long sword collided with the barrier, making a crisp sound. Zhang Li only felt that his arm holding the hilt of the sword was numb, and the long sword almost escaped. Fortunately, Zhang Li reacted in time, and took advantage of the momentum to do a backflip in midair to get out of danger. Come on. Yan Yunan took a steady step under her feet, her hands folded in front of her, her palms up. Ha ha ha, I'll come too. Fan Zioka's skin was shining with a cold metallic sheen, and with arrogant laughter, she came with her bare hands. Fan Zioka jumped up lightly and skillfully, and stepped on Yan Yunan's open hands. The ice blow light on Yan Yunan's hand flourished, and the energy was suddenly filled under Fan Zioka's feet. Yan Yunan raised her hands vigorously, and Fan Zioka jumped into the air when she landed. At the same time, more than a dozen ice arrows condensed behind Yan Yunan to escort Fan Zioka. Insect tricks. The colorless barrier opened again. Ding ding. The ice arrows mashed regularly on the wind barrier, making a small crisp sound. Eat me with a punch. Will Fan Zioka's right fist suddenly come out, viciously smashing on the wind barrier. Buzz. Unlike before, the wind barrier was deeply dented. Gulliver was obviously stunned, but immediately refilled the energy of the wind barrier. Fan Zioka was instantly bounced by the wind barrier, and Zhang Li swung out a sword to block it, before reluctantly taking her. 2 strokes. Mu Yan smiled, and was a spectator. In fact, the domain had expanded to the other side of the river. Chapter 465. The field silently surrounded Gulliver, Zhang Li, and Fan Zioka. Although the length of the field increases, the surrounding range does not need to contain more. Therefore, compared to the killing of the entire battlefield just now, the current field has to save more energy. You, shrunken-headed turtle. Even though Gulliver is now surrounded by Zhang Li and Fan Zioka on the left and right sides. But he still raised his head high, and looked down at Mu Yan contemptuously. On the way here, he had heard some information about Mu Yan. What tens of billions of assets, black rain to extinguish the tide of corpses, wanton eradication of insects tide and other heroic deeds. He was still a little excited to meet such a mysterious figure. But now at first glance, it is nothing more than a soft egg that relies on women. The feed just now, I didn't see him make a move. Maybe there was a wooden supernatural hidden behind him to work for him. However, for now, these Asian women are really not bad. Gulliver looked at Mu Yan with a handsome face resentfully. Abominable little white face. Mu Yan still didn't know what was going on with Gulliver's resentful little eyes. I was still thinking in my heart, could it be that I was shocked by my own overlord Ki? The ancients did not deceive me. The more Gulliver thought about it, the more angry he became, and with a wave of his big hand, a small tornado appeared out of thin air on the ground. With Gulliver himself as the center of the array, the small tornado constantly swept everything around, constantly approaching the town of Redgate. Mu Yan was sandwiched between the tornado and Hangman Town, and the coercion he felt was the strongest. However, in his own field, what he wants is not a matter of Mu Yan's words. So Mu Yan was not very surprised. But Yan Yunan did not have the same strong strength as Mu Yan. In the face of encountering a tornado that almost swept away everything in the air, there is still the pain of being suppressed. Almost out of subconscious instinct, Yan Yunan condensed a huge ice blade in an instant. The ice blade condensed one after another behind Yan Yunan. In an instant, it all shot towards the tornado. However, around the growing tornado, the gas has become almost a natural protective layer. The ice blade clanged and smashed on the protective layer. Without even breaking a single opening, he was directly involved in the advance of the tornado. What is it? My ice blade. Yan Yunan shouted, her eyes full of incredulity. He almost never encountered a situation like this. It was like punching cotton, not only did not exert force, but it was even almost directly involved. and the others are the same. Liu Meng's recoiled water dragon is also received by the tornado circling. Tornadoes, on the other hand, can continue to absorb such energy for their own use, and continue to grow. For a time, everyone in the 7 kills group did not dare to act rashly. I'm afraid that my moves will increase the strength of the tornado. At this time, the wind was blowing under Gulliver's feet, stepping on the invisible wind, and soaring into the eye of the tornado. Ha 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 ha, it's useless, your moves. I am invincible. Ha 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 ha. Gulliver could naturally feel that the tornado had now reached a very powerful state. Muyun District's 9th order realm, how could he block his 10th order peak tornado? Then let you see what Huajiuo is. Scatter. Muyun gently snapped his fingers, and the realm instantly contracted, including only Gulliver. Gulliver only felt as if a piece was suddenly missing under his feet, and he swayed unsteadily. Tornado, rush. Gulliver steadied himself, and pulled himself off the tornado. The tornado suddenly rushed directly towards Muyun. Gulliver was 100% confident in his heart, and even secretly began to allocate these Huajiuo girls in his heart. If he killed Huajiuo, and what kind of person to deal with, these women should be his own prisoners of war. This 1, 2, that 3, 4, that 5 or 6 over there, that one over there is too fierce or forget it. But after a long time, Gulliver did not see Muyun's blood splattered on the spot in his heart. On the contrary, the tornado, which condensed almost half of itself, was slowly getting smaller. It has even been cut in half. The lost energy does not know where to run. Water Sea Basin? Gulliver was shocked, and even spoke his native language. You Walter, what Walter? Will you speak Chinese? You hate people who drag foreign languages casually. Oh no, you are originally a foreigner. Muyun smiled and teased, obviously not putting Gulliver in his eyes. Gulliver's heart was angry, but he didn't expect that his killing moves didn't cause Muyun the slightest damage. Even now, the tornado had stopped in front of Muyun. Infinity Storm. Gulliver opened his hands, and the wind surging behind him even swept the clouds in the sky. His clothes kept blowing. Dog. Gulliver roared, and the fierce wind instantly rolled up, and pounced on Muyun again. Dog, dog, dog. Muyun plucked his ears, flicked his fingers, and his fingers flicked towards the tornado, that had shrunk to the original quarter of its size. Who knows, under the command of Muyun, the tornado instantly absorbed the power absorbed by the realm, and in an instant it became the original size. Shit, Gulliver roared and hurriedly retreated. His own abilities, Gulliver is naturally clear. What's more, his tornado consumed more than half of his energy, so his later Infinity Storm naturally had no strength comparable to a tornado. So Gulliver's first reaction, when he saw the tornado, was to retreat quickly. Just kidding, he just wanted to come over, and follow the order, to grab some crystal nuclei and grab some fruit. He didn't want to leave his life here. Want to run? Muyun instantly saw Gulliver's intentions, squinted his eyes, and snapped his fingers again. In the narrow field, the vine grows more rapidly. Just between breaths, Gulliver's hands and feet were bound by vines, and it was difficult to move an inch. Gulliver's terrified eyes widened, frantically struggling but helpless. I could only watch as the tornado swallowed up the Infinity Storm, and then opened his blood basin towards himself. No, after Gulliver desperately shouted a cry of pain, there was no more sound. Plop. The body fell into the river, splashing small waves, and soon disappeared. At this time, Zhangli and the others did not collect the knife. The movement caused by Gulliver was large enough, and the delay was just enough for the combined forces of the Eagle Country and the Leaf Country on both sides to rush here. Various languages are mixed and counted. Zhangli and Fan Zhaoqi were already surrounded by more than a dozen people. Yan Yunan, it's over to you. Muyun patted her shoulder and said, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466. Leave it to me with confidence. This little is nothing. Yan Yunan smiled, and dozens of ice arrows instantly recondensed behind him. During the days of fighting with the 7 Kills group, although she joined later. But Yan Yunan is a big ghost and likable, and soon found his own position in it. When there were sufficient numbers in the front, he was responsible for rear cover. But if she is asked to carry a knife to fight, it is also a sharp blade. Zhang Li also swung out his long sword. The sword key was like a rainbow, and with only one sideways, he directly cut off the foreheads of several enemies. For a while, no one dared to step forward to confront Zhang Li. The murderous aura on Zhang Li's body shocked these soldiers, who were also rolling in the sea of blood. But Zhang Li's strength is even greater. Stay out of the way. Get out of the way for me. Fan Zioki shook his fist. While relying on his golden body, the enemy was helpless, and those who were repelled were directly smashed into meatloaf with a punch. Every time Fan Zioki took a step forward, the other superpowers unconsciously retreated. Soon, Fan Zioki and Zhang Li gathered together. Look at me. Yan Yun drank a sigh, and 2 or 3 ice floes suddenly appeared on the surface of the river. Zhang Li and Fan Zioki both jumped slightly and quickly returned to the other side of the riverbank. The multinational coalition wanted to chase after them, but just stepped on the ice floes, but they all plopped into the river. Amused Yan Yunan giggled. But soon, the water system powerhouse rescued them all. It's really boring. Yan Yunan flattened her mouth. She also wanted to see what the soup chicken looked like for a while. Okay, let's go. Zhang Li spoke, and Yan Yunan had to take away the fun and keep up with everyone's pace. In Hangman Town, the footsteps are not loud, but they can be heard by 1,000 people. The head of the Chu family saw Mu Yun walking towards him with the stars behind him from a distance. There was only one way to the battlefield, and he couldn't hide if he wanted to. He could only bite the bullet and step forward to greet Mu Yun. Haha, I haven't seen you for a long time, Dragon Court City Lord. The head of the Chu family did not wait for Mu Yun's response, and his outstretched hand was awkwardly stunned in place. Just wanted to withdraw his hand, but was grasped by Mu Yunai. Sorry, I lost my mind just now. Have we met? Mu Yun thought about it carefully. Whether it was in the previous life or this life, it seemed that he had never seen this person in front of him. As for the enemy, it should be even more not. In general, he has a vendetta, and repays it on the spot. Ah, it's okay, it's okay. Then I'll go first. The head of the Chu family saw that Mu Yun didn't think of it at all, but he breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly walked out of the city gate. Mu Yun glanced at his back strangely. Have I seen him? The silent response of everyone in the 7 Kills group indicated that they knew where to go. However, Mu Yun did not dwell for a long time, assigned the task to the 7 Kills group, and returned to the command office. He doesn't seem to really remember. The head of the Chu family on the other side wiped the sweat on his forehead, and the friend next to him spoke in fear. That's good, that's good. Now Mu Yun, oh no, it should be said that it is the entire Dragon Court. We can't afford to mess with it at all. Okay, let's focus on what's going on. The application of the head of the Chu family gradually became serious, and at this moment, the Chu family army had already fought with the multinational coalition army. Magical skills fly all over the sky, and weapons clang non-stop. Earth powers, build a wall for me in the east and west. You must not let a person rush over. The others hit the moment first, step by step. One by one, the orders were distributed according to the layout map given by Mu Yun. Before long, high walls rose against the walls of Red Gate Town. On the outside, there are gold superpowers to reinforce, which can be regarded as a simple fortification. Teacher, you're back. Hurry up and have a good rest. We won the first battle, and we have already sent it to Grandpa by radio. He said that our plan was very good, especially complimenting you. When Kinyu saw Muyun, who was refreshing and refreshed, he couldn't even believe that he had just come down from the battlefield. But he believed that Muyun had such strength. Mr. Kin's eyes also shone with excitement. The victory in the first battle is a great encouragement to the entire Chinese country. A steady stream of supplies came from the rear to the front line, and crystal nuclei, white fruits, and even wood-based superpowers were doing their best to ensure the safety of the soldiers. Even if Muyun saw it, he would be dumbfounded. It's official. Even in the previous life, Hua Jiuo was a skinny camel bigger than a horse. The strength of Hua Jiuo can be seen. The plan is almost arranged. As long as you go according to plan, there will be no major problems. I'm going out now. Mr. Qin will assist Kinyu well. Muyun simply nodded, indicating that he knew the commendation. To be honest, the recognition is not of much use to him. It is better to be real. For example, crystal nucleus white fruit or something. Where are you going? When will you be back? Come back and love. Kinyu almost said his usual words at once. He said how he felt, that the more he spoke, the smoother his mouth became. Ahem. Bald pout, bald pout. I mean, when are you coming back? You need to be on the front line. Kinyu said the wrong thing, and hurried to make up for it. Mr. Qin, who did not understand the popular words of young people, looked at Kinyu strangely, and then at Muyun. He didn't remember that Kinyu was. Muyun is not like Mr. Qin's eyes wandered without intending to hide it at all, and Muyun got goosebumps when he saw it. Stop, he didn't mean that, I know. Muyun received Mr. Qin's clear gaze again. I don't have either. I'm going to hunt down the Dark Raven organization. They took something. I don't believe your grandfather. That old man didn't do anything. For whomever it is, this organization can't stay. When Muyun said business, his face instantly became serious. Okay, then teacher, pay attention to safety. Kinyu and Mr. Qin both nodded in agreement. Just like Muyun said, the Dark Crow organization can't stay. Not to mention the Dark Crow organization with a different heart. Before, they said that they would assassinate 6 generals of the multinational coalition, but the news came back that there was only one special colonel of the US Army. Not to mention, that they also secretly took the remuneration of Hua Jiuo. Although fake. Muyun opened the field, levitated himself in midair out of thin air, and then flew out of the command office. He came here to make such a trip in order not to let Kinyu's mind be uncertain, and modify the plan. Night was Muyun's best cover, and he thought about what the people of the Dark Raven organization were doing in stupid, offended people, of course, run to find a safe place, to absorb crystal nuclei to improve strength. Chapter 467. You're eavesdropping on me again. Muyun controlled the realm, and galloped away in the darkness. I don't know what pain point Muyun's words poked at Hanyu, and he didn't speak for a minute. This is really a strange thing for Hanyu, a middle-second girl with a speaking attribute. At first, Muyun didn't care. The realm accurately captured a trace of the aura that belonged to Dark Raven Assassin Group 7 in the air. Muyun guessed that, since number 7 had already set off as the current leader, then it must be impossible for a person around without one. Even the most likely to accompany number 7 is No. 0, whose strength has long reached the realm of kings. Muyun scratched his head. It was really a little ugly. Now he doesn't have a big killer like a unicorn kiss by his side. He definitely can't do 0 now. This is a follow-up. Muyun found that Hanyu had been closed for a while. What's wrong? I don't know what happened. Hanyu still didn't speak, as if she had dropped the line. Could it be that there is also network latency? As soon as Muyun's voice fell, a precise landmark location immediately came through the network in his mind. This is. Muyun carefully checked the situation around this location, but found that this location was actually in the border area outside Hangmen Town. because the multinational coalition forces occupied almost the entire border of the Red Gate town. Only some of the more remote, steep mountainous areas are not equipped with civil air defense. After all, the task of the current multinational coalition is to invade, to crush China, as soon as possible. As long as it breaks through the Red Gate town in one fell swoop, the border of the Chinese country can almost be described as prospecting. Therefore, the mountains were simply not in the scope of their planning of defensive manpower. But unfortunately, Mu Yun also likely recognized their thoughts. Hundreds of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of supernatural beings crowded the front line, and there was a steady stream of supernatural beings sent up behind. Nothing else, the language barrier, the crowded people, the inconvenience of communication, command has become a big problem. Therefore, when the head of the multinational coalition was assassinated, they were chaotic like headless flies. At this time, Mu Yun ordered the Lion family to fire the first shot, and it was this auspicious time that was robbed. This strategy proved to be correct and the most rapid victory in the first battle. Mu Yun looked at the winding mountain roads around this landmark, wondering what Jihan meant. Don't listen to what you say, don't hear it, just throw a landmark over. It is said that the woman's heart, the needle under the sea, Yihan, this is estimated to be the Pacific level. Mu Yun recalled what the two were talking about before, and wanted to find some clues from it. At the same time, the pace of the feet does not stop. Suddenly, Mu Yun had an epiphany. This is where the numbers 0 and number 7 are. I'll just say these two cubs must be shrinking together. Mu Yun was overjoyed in his heart, and ran directly towards the landmark. In order to prevent people who met the multinational coalition army on the road from wasting time, Mu Yun directly controlled the field, to rise into the air. Under the cover of night, almost no one can see it. Uncle Ben is here. At this time, in a gloomy and hidden cave. What do you do? An angry shout came from the cave, and if it was someone else in the assassin organization here, they would have recognized it at the first time, and this voice belonged to Fast Man 9. There is no other reason, but because the voice of the number 9 is thin and very recognizable. There were even some who did not deal with number 9, and in private called him a great eunuch. Do what? Why don't you think about what you did? Zero's gloomy voice was low, as if he was worried that No 9's voice would be too loud and attract something that should not be provoked. Zero grabbed No 9's neck and clawed with one hand. Number 9 didn't even dodge in his shadows, and was directly caught out of the darkness by Zero. The body of a teenager is gradually exposed from the darkness. However, neither the now hideous number 0 nor the number 7 who looked indifferently at the foreground, had no surprised expression at all. Number 9 shook Zero's hand holding his throat. His legs kept kicking, but because Zero had lifted him off the ground, he didn't have the point to catch his breath. At first, he didn't understand why Zero suddenly changed his face. But when he saw number 7, who had always been expressionless, also approaching him, he understood. It's that damn 10th order crystal nucleus. From the beginning, they did not intend to let themselves absorb crystal nuclei. Sadness kept urging himself along the way, and hurriedly retreated, after killing that Colonel Rorschach. The hurried order gave him no time to think, and subconsciously followed the instructions of the two chiefs, the old and the new. He regretted it. He shouldn't have been greedy for that crystal nucleus. If the life is gone, even if it is a crystal nucleus of the King Realm, what is the use? He helplessly wanted to make a sound, to say that he didn't want it. Even one hand had already grasped the shiny crystal nucleus through his clothes, but his body twisted involuntarily. There is already less and less air. No 9's eyes have begun to turn outward, and even because of No. Zero's huge force, No 9's eyes are already bulging outward. In the end, Zero saw No 9's hand in one place, and the force on his hand suddenly increased. Click. The bone of the cervical vertebrae connecting the head and neck with a soft click, completely cutting off the signs of life of number 9. Plop. Zero let go of his hand and let No 9's beautiful face fall to the ground, and his nose and mouth were all sunken. Why didn't you kill him directly? Number 7 frowned when he looked at the miserable state of number 9, still a little pity. After all, number 9 was the first person to stand up and support number 7 as the leader in the organization. Therefore, he was also appreciated by number 7, who was a fast-moving toolman on his side. After all, when the leader goes out, he has to have some cards. For this, of course. Zero followed the ratings of number 9 just now, and smoothly took out a black crystal nucleus. Number 0 ignored the reproach in 7 stone, which he had brought up single-handedly, and he knew that there was still a little softness in his heart. But it doesn't matter, he will be able to grind him flat in no time. The assassin's primary priority was profit. What is not beneficial to oneself will not be done, and those who harm their own interests will definitely be killed. This is also the reason why number 7 did not stop number 0 from killing number 9 from the beginning. A 10th order crystal nucleus. This is not something that anyone can easily let out. And even more so about them. As soon as Zero stood up holding the crystal nucleus, the weight in his hand instantly lightened. The crystal nucleus turned into yellow sand and quickly flowed away from the fingers. Chapter 468. Faced with such a sudden change, the two were stunned in place. Damn it. Damn number 7. Damn Qin Shanming. Damn Mu Yun. Damn gringos. Zero was the first to react, and the extreme pain made him no longer worry about anyone else. Heartache, except heartache is heartache. Zero, take a look at the other crystal nuclei in the box. Number 7 is still sane, after all, he has already absorbed a part of the crystal nucleus. I really experience the improvement of strength. Wait a minute. Number 7 closed his eyes and felt it, but found that he was still the peak of the 10th order. No, it can't be. Before Zero had time to check, number 7 was already frowning, checking his level over and over again. But at this time, Zero didn't have time to worry about what was happening on his side. Zero hurriedly opened the safe. What 10th order crystal nuclei were inside? It is clear that it is a handful of yellow sand. How so? Zero's eyes were demented, falling from great joy to great sorrow, and his consciousness fell into temporary chaos. On the other side, number 7 quickly took out the remaining half of the crystal nucleus from his arms. At this time, when I touched it, there was no shadow of the crystal nucleus at all. Even fine sand is now as painful as holding a sharp knife. It's magic. Compared to the sluggish Zero, the 7 is calmer. From the very beginning, our conditions who a GUO official did not think of agreeing. I'm afraid that what kind of gold is also pretending to bargain with us. No wonder the crystal nucleus was sent so fast and smooth. Number 7 let out a long sigh, and had to face the fact that it was all empty. This handwriting should be the mean woman surnamed Yang from the official dragon group. I forgot that her illusion is the first in the world, and many people in the organization have suffered losses at her hands. Zero slowed down, sneered a few times, turned around and prepared to leave the cave. What are you going to do? Number 7 sat in the cave, and asked with some doubt. Do you still need to ask? Of course, kill that slut in the past. The facial features on Zero's face were distorted by extreme anger, and at first glance he looked like a demon climbing up from hell. You're crazy, it's just a few nuclei. The dragon group is under the heavy protection of the official. I'm afraid that, if you don't go in, you will be worn to death by the tactics of the seer people. 10,000 steps back, even if you go in and see Yang Xiaoyu, can you guarantee that you are not in her illusion? Zero, you're too impulsive now. Revenge must be revenge. But we have to think about this in the long run. Number 7 looked at Zero's back and slowly highlighted this remark. At this moment, Zero has gradually calmed down, and his mind is full of 7's didactic advice. Perhaps because he finally did not have to be a leader, he gradually removed the shackles of having to consider the overall situation. And number 7, with his help, gradually became more and more like a leader. He was relieved. Okay, I'll listen to you. Zero exhaled deeply and sat back down in the cave. Now they have to think hard about how to save the situation. Originally, they planned to absorb the crystal nucleus, and neither the Dragon Court nor the official could limit the ability of the two kings at once. And they do not want to offend the large number of multinational coalition forces. After all, the assassins industry has no fixed place to live, and the nationality has not yet come to the crystal nucleus. Maybe when they will have to leave China to hang out. But you can't do nothing to offend China. So in total, only the one with the highest priority on the list was killed. That is, Levy, the Special Army Colonel of the United States. Sure enough, the multinational coalition forces were in chaos, and they took advantage of the chaos to leave the positions of the multinational coalition forces, ready to hide in this place, where birds do not, and absorb the crystal nucleus. After that, you don't have to worry about anything. Unexpectedly, this original is to get into the trap set by others. Zero regretted it, and now it is impossible to get good at both ends. At this time, a light sound of footsteps appeared outside the cave without concealment. Number 0 and number 7 looked at each other, and immediately stood up, their bodies in an aggressive stance. Yo, chap 2. From the mouth of the cave, which was well hidden by vegetation, a smiling face suddenly popped up. The dagger that number 7 held in one hand instantly flung out towards the human head. The dagger spun, and cut through the air, making a fierce wind sound. The 0 next to him was also not to be outdone, and a lightning and thunderous shell was almost instantaneous in his hand. Who knows, just when the attack of the two was almost in front of the comer, the shell suddenly disappeared. And the dagger thrown out by number 7 also froze straight in the air, as if time had stopped. So fierce as it came. It's cruel. Mu Yun shook his head contrivedly, and sighed in his mouth, as if he was very shameful about this behavior. Mu Yun? Oh, you came just in time. Zero narrowed his eyes, and the evil aura of deception in his heart had not yet subsided. But they had long forgotten that the deal has already been negotiated, and they themselves reneged on the contract first. However, Zero's heart selectively forgot this fact, and only blamed everything on Hua Jiuo and Mu Yun. Is there something wrong with brother Mu Yun coming to us? As soon as number 7 saw it, he knew that number 0 wanted to make a move, and quickly stood in front of number 10 to block him. His mind was clear that they were at their fault. Now that everyone is looking for the door, who knows if there are still those two King Realm Masters of the Wood and Thunder families around Mu Yun now? However, for some reason, today's 0 always looks impetuous, almost like two different people from the leader who planned to make decisions before. It can even be said that they have come to this situation step by step, mostly because of Zero's decision-making mistakes. If the two hadn't been together all the time, he wondered if Zero had been dropped by aliens. Just a pigmate. Number 7 casually glanced at Zero behind him, puzzled. At this time, Mu Yun saw the very different attitudes between the two, but his heart was clear. But it won't be easy to say about it. Naturally, I came to ask you, why don't you do things according to the agreement? There are 6 generals of the multinational coalition on the list, but you have only assassinated 1. Do you know how much this has done to us? Mu Yun's face instantly changed in attitude, and his eyes were awe-inspiring, and he completely looked like a scholar. You're questioning us? You gave, said Zero excitedly. Zero. Stop. Chapter 469. Number 7 shouted at Zero, and now you can't give the handle out. They still haven't figured out whether the official Hua Jiuo told Mu Yun about the crystal nucleus. Is there something that says that illusion is not yet? On the one hand, the Dragon Group is one of the secret cards of the official Chinese country, and Yang Xiao is the deepest hidden one. They also suffered many losses before they knew such a mysterious figure. Has Mu Yun been trusted to reveal the official of China? On the other hand, in the final analysis, this matter is that they are provoking the relationship between the Dragon Court and the official of the Chinese kingdom, and if Mu Yan is not trusted by the official of the Huago society, then he will not know about the crystal nucleus. If you tell it all, Mu Yan's attitude at the moment is not very similar. For a while, number 7 fell into hesitation. On the contrary, big teammate Zero still shouted vigorously, and almost poked out the crystal nucleus. Isn't this handing over your handle to someone's hand? Number 7 pressed his temple with a headache. How did he not find Zero so unreliable before? He thought about it. Didn't Zero give Mu Yan a comprehensive reward assassination order without knowing Mu Yan's strength before? He also started at the base, and almost let the two masters of the King Realm beside him lift the roof. Number 7 convinced himself in his heart, as if everything had a trace. What do you want to say? Mu Yan stared straight at Zero, his eyes full of defiance. Mu Yan knew that the current Zero was different from before, and he couldn't stand it at all. I'm going to gouge out your eyes. Eat raw and peel alive. Zero's eyes were blood red, pushing number 7 away. At the same time, a huge lightning current burst out from the palm of Zero's hand, throwing towards Mu Yan. Number 7 couldn't dodge, and was caught off guard, and pushed directly onto the wall of the cave by number 0. Zero. Stop it. No, 7's heart is not good. Just now Mu Yan estimated to Angano. 0. I'm afraid that there are masters around him. 0 can't have an accident. Number 7 stepped forward, but did not see any wood energy hitting 0. Instead, 0 suddenly remained motionless, and froze in place. And the thunder and lightning current that had been thrown out, obviously exhausted the energy of the King Realm, was caught by Mu Yan of the Ninth Order. Is that all? Mu Yan's tone was arrogant, but 0 fell limply to the ground, as if he had no bones on his body. 0. Number 7 roared, and stepped forward to drag 0's soft body. He would never believe that Mu Yan alone could silently injure 0 like this. What did you do? Number 7 roared at Mu Yan with a split eye. Thanks to you, oh, and him. Mu Yan pointed to 0 who fell to the ground and continued. It seems that you have touched the crystal nucleus, and he is the first. He was hit by the spirit-eating insect. As soon as this worm is contacted, it will quietly drill into the human body and eat away at his crystal nucleus little by little. It's been so long to attack, it's worthy of the realm of kings. Now he is also a shell of an empty shelf. As for you, after absorbing the false crystal nucleus and being confused by the illusion, the realm is still lower, and the attack of the spirit-eater insect should be a matter of this moment and a half. It's really strange. I didn't expect you to be slower than 0. Mu Yan glanced at number 7 on the ground, his eyes full of disdain. What a despicable means. Insect powers, Mrs. Jin's powers, you are really a gang. General Jin sneezed inexplicably, cursing and cursing. That Wang Bei Lam was chanting Laotzu. Number 7 stared at Mu Yan viciously, his ki and blood surged upward, and it seemed that the spirit-eater insect had attacked. He is calm in heart, and 0 is angry or arrogant almost all the time. The ups and downs of emotion stimulated the spirit-eater worm, and the crystal nucleus made his emotions even more excited, because of the spirit-eater worm. The vicious cycle will eventually eat the consequences. Your assassin order betrayed first, and you still have the face to say meanness to me. But for the sake of you killing an admiral after all, let you die comfortably. Mu Yan quietly expanded his domain, and the 7th body became dull, because of the spirit-eating insect, and before he even had time to react, it was directly pierced by vines growing from behind. Poof, a mouthful of blood sprayed directly on 0's already cold body. The closed eyes illustrate the end of a generation of kings. Mu Yan looked at the two overlapping corpses, and a flame ignited in the field. The flames instantly grew stronger, after being contaminated with flammable clothing. With only a whoosh, the flames suddenly encroached on the entire cave. The tongue of fire licked everything unscrupulously, but it was difficult to make any progress in front of Mu Yan. Soon, a light rain fell outside the cave, and the rain covered Mu Yun's traces of going up the mountain. It seems that nothing happened. A small scream was uttered in the midst of the flames, short and intense. The two small white insects ran away aimlessly, but they were re-rolled into their abdomen by tongues of fire. Is this a spirit-eater worm? Mu Yun looked at the two short-lived soul-eating insects, and suddenly understood why General Jin's wife and the intelligence had been in poor health in the last days. Originally, he took it for granted that he did not awaken the power, or that the sequelae caused by the awakening power were too serious. And now, after seeing the two people who died terribly, they suddenly had an epiphany. How good can the body be? However, it is precisely because of this that the Jin family has a place in the Zhang family with the general's wife. I'm afraid that I secretly helped the Zhang family deal with some troubles quietly. In the last days, who can tell who died and how? It seems that the rank of the general's wife is not low. Mu Yun watched as the fire in the cave gradually became smaller, and the extreme high temperature made not a single ashes remain. I think that a general is only of the 8th order now. I'm afraid that the strength of the general's wife cannot be underestimated. However, this is also the Jin family's overture. Could it be that they want to choose another Goodwood to live in? Or a decoy? Mu Yun got up and flew away. These relying on guesses could not be answered for the time being, and he had time to personally meet this general's wife for a while. In a simple but cozy cottage. The spirit eater is broken. The emaciated general's wife sat on the bed, leaning against the head of the bed on one side. Because the death of the spirit eater worm obviously brought some damage to the general's wife. Then it seems that Mu Yun made a move. Let's drink some tonic soup. General Jin visibly breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time, handed out a bowl of bitter juice in his hand, and blew it, before sending it to the mouth of the general's wife. Chapter 470. The general's wife just took a sip, and felt bitter in her mouth and stopped drinking. Eat some sweets. This tonic was sent by Mrs. Zhang. It's good for your health. General Jin took another sweet and sour word from the bedside table, and handed it to the general's wife, which was her favorite snack. Unfortunately, in the last days, these things have become rare, and are no longer readily available. The general's wife also listened to the advice, frowned and drank the soup medicine. In this way, we will no longer be subject to the assassin organization, and the Dragon Court will also sell well. After all, the 10th order crystal nucleus is open from here, and you are somewhat responsible. Now, regardless of the outcome of the war, the official side will give some favor. The general's wife raced through her mind to calculate any chips related to the benefits of the Kim family. Most of General Jin's soldiers followed the Zhang family to the battlefield this time. In the end, they only relied on the Zhang family closely to find a corner. But the backers will fall, everyone will run, and tearing the face is not good for everyone. The Dragon Court is also flocked to by everyone. She had to think of a compromise method. Neither the Long Court nor the Zhang family could offend. The general's wife looked at General Jin with an excited face, and also smiled helplessly. Little fool. Hey, hey. General Kim laughed twice, and the years were quiet. A wildfire did not have time to burn, and it was annihilated in time by heavy rain. This rain is really timely. This time, the powerful people of the fire system over there have become squibs. Ha 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 ha. Who said it wasn't? Thanks to our Miss Liu Meng, this water can directly dry up the water of the fire extinguishing powerhouse. What? Such a heavy rain was actually made by one person? Oh my god, this has to be a King Realm person, right? What is the origin of this willow dream? The rain forced back the multinational coalition forces that came to attack in turn, and the war was originally very anxious, but a rain completely turned the situation around. Everyone talked about it, all curious about this mysterious woman. You don't know that, do you? This woman is one of the women of our city lord. A tiger-headed man gasped and rushed to the rear, his tone full of reverence for Mu Yun. However, the footsteps were hurried, and occasionally I heard these wounded soldiers discussing before saying this. This brother, are you from the Dragon Court? as soon as I heard that this was a member of the legendary team that won 100 battles, it was just some minor problems such as abrasions, and the incorruptible people sat up in shock in their dying illness. That's the Dragon Court's team. Yes, don't say anything, I have to hurry back to deliver things. We are going to the front soon. The tiger-headed warrior was in a hurry, and if he wanted to leave, everyone naturally did not dare to stop him. Not to mention such a thing as going to war. So only a few people were left to lie back on the stretcher and whisper, "That's the Dragon Court warrior, I don't know which team he is in. If you want me to see it, it is estimated that it is the white tigers." Yes, it is a tiger's brain, that body, it is estimated that it can directly smash me. And that Liu Meng. It turned out to be already the woman of the Dragon Court City Lord. It's a pity, it's a pity. It's a pity, that's the Dragon Court City Lord. I don't know if the wealth in my hands is enough to eat for a few lifetimes in the last days. Everyone raised their heads and saw Enron's woman meditating at the head of the city, her long hair fluttering, and even the rain could not bear to wet her. It is said that the more mysterious the person, the more attractive he is. This sentence is not wrong at all on Liu Meng. For a time, the wounded lying in the improvised casualty room under the city wall were all fooled. Suddenly, a man's salty pig hand appeared on the fairy's shoulder. Who is it? Let go of my fairy. KO. Brothers go up to the wall and him. In an instant, the crowd was excited. Are you blind? That was Mu Yun, the city lord of the Dragon Court. In the midst of the loud voice, a small voice reached everyone's ears. Oh, that's all right. Indeed, that's fine. The United Brothers, who had just stood up, instantly fell apart and sat back in the hospital bed. Lord City Lord. Liu Meng didn't feel Mu Yun's breath at all, but the familiar energy fluctuations still made her recognize Mu Yun at the first time. Otherwise, it is estimated that a column of water sprayed over. Well, okay, go back and rest. Hard work. Mu Yun nodded. This heavy rain even reached the poor mountains in the distance, which showed how much energy Liu Meng needed to consume. Now she is just struggling to support. She was really worried that her ability was not enough to help the city lord. Liu Meng opened her mouth to say something, but just nodded and turned to leave. In fact, she wanted to say that it was good that the city lord could come back safely, and she didn't feel hard. But in the end, he maintained his usual silence. Mu Yun looked at Liu Meng's figure that quickly disappeared in the darkness, and sighed secretly. With the connection of the mind network, how could he not know what Liu Meng was thinking? Such a character is estimated to suffer a big loss in society. But fortunately, in the supremacy of the strength of the Dragon Court, such a thing will not happen at all. The rain gradually stopped with Liu Meng's departure, but the fire powerhouses of the multinational coalition army were somewhat affected by this rain. Most of them were cultivating in the tents, leaving only a few scattered fire powerhouses to fight, which was nothing to fear. Mu Yun stood on the city wall and looked across the river towards the camp of the multinational coalition army. Suddenly, a cold light flashed from the middle of the camp. Mu Yun's heart was shocked, and the realm opened instantly, and the translucent black realm was particularly conspicuous on the city wall. Which Wang 8K sneaked up on Laote Zedu. Mu Yun roared, stretched out his two fingers, and the arrow made of unknown metal was sandwiched between the two fingers. However, this thing seemed to have an extremely low ignition point, and it melted into something like molten iron the moment Mu Yun touched it. Mu Yun hurriedly shook his hand, and the liquid flung on the city wall made of stone, making a sound of moisture. Fortunately, Mu Yun reacted quickly, and threw it away in time, so that the liquid did not corrode his hand. It can be described as a very cruel move. If this were to be shot on his own little brother. Mu Yun shivered. It's vicious. Let me see which turtle grandson attacked his grandfather. Oh no, your grandfather doesn't have such foreign descendants. Mu Yun narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction where the arrow came from. A blonde foreigner seemed to be waiting for this time, and when he saw Mu Yun looking over, he smiled and raised the longbow in his hand. His mouth moved quickly, and the expression on his face was excited. Chapter 471. Mu Yun couldn't understand either, guessing that he was probably saying something foreign. After a while, the foreigner who shot the arrow seemed to understand, and Mu Yun couldn't understand what he was saying. I had to shake my head dejectedly. Mu Yun does not understand foreign bird language, but he can sign language. A finger representing international friendship slowly rises. The foreigner who shot the arrow was obviously stunned, and then did not have any angry expression, but directly laughed. At the same time, he waved his hand, holding the longbow in one hand, and continuously condensing golden energy in the other. Mu Yun also wrapped his arms around his chest, waiting for this foreigner to come up with some kind of moth. Not long after, a large golden stereoscopic 3D letter appeared horizontally in midair. SB Mu Yun squinted his eyes and read out letter by letter. Mu Yun's reaction was almost exactly the same as that foreigner, first stunned, then laughed. Mu Yun unfolded the field, and stood on the city wall wanting to directly enter the camp of the multinational coalition army. Although I don't know who this foreigner is, it is definitely an interesting soul. Well, the same as yourself. Mu Yun's attack posture at this moment was already very obvious. Even if he did not cross the river, the other multinational coalition troops stationed in the camp to cultivate felt the murderous aura emanating from Mu Yun's body. Of course, together with the soldiers on the Hua side, they can naturally feel the murderous aura that is not aimed at themselves. But this murderous aura is also chilling. City Lord, what's wrong with this? The girl let people rob? Say what? Our City Lord's sisters are all following the City Lord with a dead heart. A member of the Suzaku team next to him directly gave this White Tiger member a violent chestnut. Sure enough, the White Tigers are all powerful people with brains the size of pine nuts. The members of the White Tiger team rubbed their heads aggrievedly, and sure enough, all the Suzaku team had violent tempers, and died of pain. The foreigner with the bow glanced at Mu Yun in surprise, then waved his hand, turned around and got into the camp tent. This time, Mu Yun understood that he didn't want to fight against him at all. At least, now is not the time. The murderous aura in the realm gradually retracted into Mu Yun's body at the same time. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. City Lord, what happened just now? Have you encountered an enemy attack? Zhang Li quickly climbed up the wall from the battlefield to Mu Yun's side, and asked with a slight bend in front of him. Sort of, it's just a small problem. Don't be nervous. Mu Yun thought for a moment and replied. He really didn't feel that foreigner was in any trouble. From his arrows, he only felt the energy fluctuations from the peak of the 9th order to the middle of the 10th order. For Mu Yun, it was not a troublesome thing at all to quickly rush to kill him, and then retreat with his whole body. It's just that this time it's much more fun than ever to meet the right opponent. You find out who this person is. The faces in the memory were quickly transmitted to Zhang Li's mind through the internet. Yes. Zhang Li saluted, and then retired directly. Mu Yun looked down at the situation on the battlefield again. Ever-changing is ultimately inseparable from its roots. Compared with the multinational coalition army, which was quickly assembled, and lost the top general, resulting in great confusion in the army. Even the official ranks of the Chinese state seem to be scattered and formed by the aggregation of multiple forces. But because of Mu Yun as the leader, others have to be convinced, even if they are not convinced. Defy? The Dragon Court army of 1 to 10 will beat you to the subdue. Soon, when the deployment on the side of Hangman Town rotated to the third force, the multinational coalition chose to start retreating. And this third force is none other than the Dragon Court army. The Dragon Court army each shot bravely, and even directly killed the Hand. What kind of different kind, in the last days, leaving a way for the enemy to live, is to dig his own grave. Therefore, in this wave of confrontation, the damage of the multinational coalition army is the most serious. Quickly withdraw. Why is there such a powerful soldier in Huajiuo? It's a tough shot, and it doesn't even look like a soldier. In a tent far away from the hustle and bustle of the battlefield, different languages are constantly being spoken. They also have synchronized translators on their ears, which allow generals from many countries to gather here for meetings. Thanks to this, I know this wave is New Yun soldiers. New Yun? Is it the city lord of the rich dragon court city? A dark-skinned old brother frowned, and if it weren't for a mouthful of white teeth, it would be difficult for others to see this person in the corner. Good guy, buddy, your skills are invisible, right? A white man was visibly taken aback. It's just a racial gift. Hey. Old brother Black scratched his head and laughed twice. It's really him. I've seen this team on the site. My suggestion is to temporarily retreat to a safe position, and then attack the Red Gate town when the time is ripe. A tall, yellow-bearded white man said. Is the time ripe? When is the time ripe? Waiting for Mu Yun to call over in person? A contemptuous voice came from among everyone, and for a moment it was not clear who was speaking. Huh, a small ninth order scared you out? This is the so-called national elite? I look at every turkey that is more timid than the turkey on Thanksgiving. The American man sitting at the top said sarcastically. Lieutenant General Brand. Oh no, Admiral Brand, you don't know how terrifying Mu Yun is. According to the latest information, he even directly confronted a King Realm powerhouse, defeated, even seriously injured him. Such a person, we must not be guarded. A pot-bellied colonel said with a military salute. And Brand, it was after Levy's death that Lieutenant General who took over his command position became a special general of the army. At this time, the multinational coalition led by the United States, along with 3 other lieutenant generals, led the armies of other countries. The multinational coalition is just a lackey of the United States. The United States and China have been holding grudges for a long time, and they were able to ease their political attitude in the past. When the end times come, all disguised pieces torn apart. Their wolf ambitions were exposed. I think Colonel Mark is too worried about a city lord. So scary, it's better to go straight home. Ha ha ha, a man in the same colonel's attire laughed mockingly. Randy, you simply. Colonel Mark wanted to say something, but caught a glimpse of Admiral Brand with a smile on his lips, pursed in the afterlight. He froze. How could he forget that this Brand and Randy were taught by the same teacher? All are out and out war maniacs. In order to win, they even want to directly let the official United States carry out nuclear bombardment. Chapter 472. Fortunately, Admiral Levy at the time firmly rejected this suggestion. Colonel Mark closed his mouth. Now it was useless to say anything. The settlement of this war, under the leadership of Brand, will surely lead to an endless abyss. He had to hurry up and find an opportunity to sneak back home. Seeing Colonel Mark's knowledge, Brand nodded in satisfaction. I don't think Mu Yun is afraid, but our army is not good at night combat. All sorts of night vision devices were distributed to fighters at the front, and supplies from the rear were transported in place. Colonel Randy's team is in charge of the 4th charge, and Colonel Mark leads a group of men and horses around the rear of Red Gate Town to cut off the transportation of Red Gate Town. As long as their supplies can't arrive on time, even if there are water system superpowers to maintain their lives, it will be difficult to resist our thousands of troops. With a wave of his hand, Brand planted several small flags on the small hill representing the town of Redgate. The rear. So when will air support arrive? Colonel Mark said hesitantly. He had a very bad feeling in his heart, and he was suffering from the enemy and the rear of the enemy, and it was likely that he would be directly wrapped in dumplings by the enemy by accident. If there were planes in the sky for fire support, their movement would be much easier. And these soldiers under their own will die much less. Air support. Do you think we haven't exposed it thoroughly enough, Colonel Mark? I really suspect that your brain was kicked hard by a donkey. Without waiting for Admiral Brand to speak, Colonel Randy rushed ahead and spoke. The look in Colonel Mark's eyes was naked stupidity. I see. Colonel Mark clenched his fists hard, not knowing how much strength it took to be able to say this sentence calmly. They are using war to exclude dissidents. Maniac, maniac, what a madman. Isn't the life of a warrior a life? But fortunately, fighters who have been fighting on the front line for so long can be rotated down and rested. Colonel Mark looked in the direction of Redgate Town, and the figure standing on the city wall had long been gone. If only the war had never started. These two big earthen walls are really good, sturdy. Because of the change of ranks of the multinational coalition army, the soldiers of the Dragon Court army also had a chance to rest. A member of the White Tiger team admired the two high walls built by the Chu family and patted them vigorously. You see, you can't drive such a hard shot. The base we went to last time, the broken wall was broken with a shot, Tofu Dregs project. And standing on the city wall is responsible for giving these two, causing the wall of the Redgate town, to be easy to defend, and difficult to attack, and the two Chu families who are repairing, are tears with noodles. Big brother, don't shoot, if you shoot again, it will really fall. Is this the strength of the Dragon Court army? How to pat it casually, it seems to be slapped on my heart, and it will soon be shattered. Okay, don't play, the turtle grandson over there has changed another wave of people, let's try the level, and then change the Wu family in half an hour. A man with a green dragon, embroidered on his sleeve tugged on the clothes of the White Tiger team members and said, "Oh yes, how to change people, I thought they retreated directly." The White Tiger team member scratched his head and obediently followed the people away. Great, finally gone. The two Chu families on the city wall were so happy that they almost didn't scatter flowers directly. Hey? This wall is quite strong. At this time, a passing White Tiger member clapped vigorously. Well, it's pretty strong. Another White Tiger member also passed by and patted. Hey? How did it fall off? Go fast, you'll lose money with us in a while. The two of them instantly slipped away, leaving only two petrified Chu family villains spitting out old blood. Grandma Drip, if you can't beat it, I can make you die. This wave of people who have come up. Mu Yun looked at the scattered hundreds of people coming in the distance. It is a contrast with the previous army of 1,000 people. You know, Mu Yun's side is also a rotation of 5 teams, followed by the brave White Tiger team. The number of 200 people with such terrain is more than enough. However, as the attacking side, the multinational coalition army had to pay at least 10 times the number of the White Tigers to barely hold on. This is still when the two parties have similar levels of power. Unless order Zuan Wu to replace the White Tiger, this wave of defense is the mainstay. Mu Yun said calmly. Niu Dazliang was responsible for the overall planning, and naturally transmitted the order as soon as possible. City Lord, what's wrong? After carrying out Mu Yun's order, Niu Dazliang asked cautiously. Look over there. Mu Yun naturally looked further away, standing at a high place, and pointed to the group who were preparing to cross the river. I saw a tall white man wearing a colonel's badge squatting down on the riverbank, and his finger lightly tapped the surface of the river. What the hell is that kid? Drink? Niu Dazliang's eyesight is not as strong as Mu Yun, and naturally he can't see the movements of tall white people. But in the next second, Niu Dazliang instantly understood what this person was going to do. The entire river stops flowing between breaths, and instantly transforms into a long glacier. This is definitely not something that ordinary supernatural beings can do. This is the realm of kings. No, although Zuan Wu has strong defense, let's send another green dragon, and the vermilion bird killing is also on it. I'll deploy it. This man must not be allowed to cross the river. Niu Dazliang only felt that his tongue was knotted, and his heart was anxious. What are you in a hurry? Mu Yun grabbed the panicked Niu Dazliang. I'm still here. As soon as Mu Yun's words came out, somehow, Niu Dazliang instantly felt a lot more relieved. The somewhat panicked pace under his feet also stopped. Then only send Zuan Wu over? Niu Dazliang asked. The king's energy is not exhausted, and there is only one way for him to retreat: death. A murderous aura flashed in Mu Yun's eyes, so fast that Niu Dazhuang, who had always looked at Mu Yun, did not see it. Let Suzaku stand by on the city wall, ready to fire the fire system skill at any time. Ice is afraid of fire. Let them always pay attention to the battlefield, responsible for cooperating with Zuan Wu King small soldiers. Once the king has a flaw, attack the king first. Mu Yun calmly gave the order. No wonder, only so few people were sent this time. In previous waves, the casualties of the multinational coalition were not a small number, but they were only 1/20th. The army is still preserving its strength behind. It's just that morale is low, and I guess what mobilization meeting to go. Thinking of this, Mu Yun couldn't help but laugh. Will this kill the king? Niu Dazhuang didn't know what Mu Yun was laughing at, and nervousness made him unable to get all jokes now. Of course not enough. Mu Yun's smile was not collected, and his gaze met Colonel Randy, who was on the ice, bursting into a strong spark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473. I'll personally meet this king for a while. The corner of Mu Yun's mouth provoked a trace of an evil smile, and 7 beautiful figures suddenly appeared behind him. All members of the 7 Kills group are here. Obey the orders of the city lord. Zhang Li carried a large knife behind him, and bowed to Mu Yun and said, "Wait, they're almost there." The 7 people did not say anything, standing beside Mu Yun and waiting. "What are you waiting for? That person from the realm of kings has already crossed the river." Niu Dazhuang was nervous, completely without his previous calm and arrogant appearance in front of the combat troops. After a pause, Niu Dazhuang clenched his fists. "City Lord, I'll take the brothers of the White Tiger to meet him first. Good to open the way for the brothers after that." Saying that, Niu Dazhuang turned around and wanted to leave. "Stop. Do you not trust me?" Mu Yun sighed. How could Niu Dazhuang directly panic when he met a king? Is it that aircraft cannons are not good to use? It is necessary to use such primitive human seed tactics. When Niu Dazhuang saw Mu Yun take out a giant cannon from the space and stand on the city wall, his eyes almost stared out directly. Old boss. This is also too fierce. Haha, with this cannon, see if my old cow doesn't blast them into slag. Niu Dazhuang changed his previous decadent appearance and laughed up to the sky. "Can you wait now?" Mu Yun looked at Niu Dazhuang with a smile and said. The cannon was mounted on the city wall, and the muzzle of the black hole was facing the enemy army not far away. Yes, that's right. Niu Dazhuang was extremely happy, although he also knew that such a cannon would not do any substantial harm to the powerful people of the King Realm. But for the ordinary supernatural people around them, it is still incredible. Removing trash fish or something, it is still very good to fight. Suddenly, a black mist silently emerged from Zhang Li's body. Zhang Li was startled, quickly took 2 steps back, instantly drew out the long knife, and the magma also sprayed into the black mist in front of him at the same time. Fall. In the field, words are followed. The magma instantly fell to the rocky ground of the city wall in mid-air, and the sound was like charcoal roast beef. "Own people, don't be impulsive," Mu Yun said simply, and Zhang Li reacted that he was a little excited just now. After all, something suddenly came out of his body. No one can stand it. Yu Hang silently withdrew the double knife that he had just pulled out. The city lord, the leading generals of the Ball country, the Leaf country, and the Burrito country have all been killed. The woman dressed in black came out of the black mist and spoke respectfully. The person who came was Sequence 2. These 3 countries can be described as the right arm of the United States. And the strength of these countries can be regarded as slightly stronger. After that, most of the other countries in the multinational coalition came to make up the numbers from the powerful of small countries. It is nothing in front of Guo. But, now you can go. The 7 Kills group and Suzaku are responsible for attacking, Zuanwu defending, and cleaning up miscellaneous fish. It's still the same sentence from before, always pay attention to the King Colonel, and attack first. The 100 sequences continue to seek opportunities to assassinate enemy generals, and retreat first, not desperately. Orderly decentralization of orders. Yes. After the second sequence was ordered, it disappeared into the black fog. Then, that king. Niud as they unhesitated. I'll come in person. With that, Mu Yun jumped down from the city wall. Niud Azuan was shocked, and quickly looked down, and saw that Mu Yun was safely chosen in midair, before he was relieved. May, how? Randy. The broken Mandarin came out of Randy's mouth, directly amusing Mu Yun, learning his accent, and saying word by word. Hello, the nest is a hidden butterfly. Randy frowned suspiciously, not seeming to quite understand. Against the trend Mu Yun. Randy said. Haha, you can say that too. Mu Yun laughed, this little foreign devil is quite tender. Because of the language barrier, it seems that Randy is a little cute. Human nonsense exchange quotes. A sky-breaking rocket shot out from the city wall, directly setting fire to one of the supernatural beings beside Randy. Ugh. The burned psychic happened to be a wood-based psychic, but the moves released could only accelerate the burning of the flame. As soon as Randy waved his hand, a cool breeze instantly blew around the supernatural, and the fire suddenly turned into a light smoke. Bold Q, the skin on the psychic's body, was burned to the ground, only the area covered by his clothes was only a little red. It can be seen that the clothes are not an ordinary thing. But it's a pity that now his body is naked, and I don't know whether to cover the upper or lower edge for a while. The laughter coming from the height made him very embarrassed, and his black face could be seen red. The others held back a laugh, and a Space Department psychic immediately took him out of the battlefield. As soon as the war was about to break out, Randy took the lead in condensing an ice blue spear and stabbed towards Mu Yun. Good fellow, sugar good skewers. The two did not understand the language, and Randy naturally did not understand what Mu Yun was saying. Randy also said something in a babbling manner, but Mu Yun just wanted to give him a big tease. Bibby what? A huge black palm condensed in the field, and fanned towards Randy's side. Randy turned around, and shot a shot, and the tip of the ice blue spear actually pierced a hole directly in the palm of his hand. The two looked at each other through this void. Not bad. It's a pity you met me. The strength of the king is much stronger than that of ordinary people, but in the past few days, he has had time to absorb the crystal nucleus, and now he has steadily reached the peak of the ninth order. In the future, every small level that goes up, Mu Yun has to pay more energy than others. However, now in the early days of dealing with this king, he can be described as very stable. Fire Serpent. In the field, a flame rose up into the sky, circling and winding, and suddenly flying out. Everyone only felt that their body temperature had increased by 5 or 6 degrees in an instant. Even those who were closer to the supernatural began to sweat on the tip of their noses. The fire snake stared at Randy in front of Mu Yun. As an ice powerhouse, Randy's fire skills are doubly damaging him. The fire snake's sense of oppression was very strong, almost making him subconsciously release an ice shield to block in front of him. While the fire snake's snort was full of heat, and the ice shield was melting at an incredible rate. Go, Fire Serpent. The fire snake responded to the sound, and the body cast in flames, swam towards Randy rapidly. At the same time, a fireball of the Deo Deo is constantly sprayed in the mouth. The fireball hit the ground and instantly ignited a small piece of fire. Chapter 474. Randy naturally refused to bow down, dodging the fireball, while waiting for an opportunity to counterattack. Randy was almost windy under his feet, and the speed of retreat was extremely fast. The wind with the ice ballast whistled towards the fire snake, and other supernatural beings also saw the stitches attacking the fire snake, and soon the fire snake disappeared by half. Hey. Seeing that the fire snake shrank to the point where it was about to disappear, Mu-Yun not only did not worry, but let out a strange laugh of the villain. Here Mu-Yun kept releasing small snakes that hindered everyone's movement, and at the same time, pretended to bless the fire snake with energy. Soon, under the siege of everyone, the fire snake was shot in the head by Randy, after engulfing the three superpowers. Who knows, the fire snake did not dissipate like ordinary skills after it fell. Instead, it exploded instantly after the old brother approached. Boom. The flames burst into the sky with the sound of explosions, making everyone shudder when they saw it. Bye. Is this still a person? Worthy of being Lord City Lord? Is the fire department so handsome? I already knew that I also ate the fruit of fire. Pull down you. The fire system also has cold arrows on top. A member of the Zuanwu team pointed to the Suzaku team members who were waiting on the city wall. Taking advantage of the fact that those violent tempers did not hear it, the Zuanwu team members snickered. After the firelight, there was thick smoke, waiting for the smoke to clear, and many supernatural beings lay their corpses. At cursory glance, there are probably dozens of people. This is the result Mu-Yun wants. Take advantage of it, and ask for its dog's life. Despicable. I have to say, that Randa's words are very smooth. At this time, even his face was smoky black, and the large and small wounds on his body were burned. Soldiers are not tired of deception. Mu-Yun snapped his fingers, and 4 vines instantly drilled out from under the ground where Randy was standing. While the vines form a cage at the top, small vines also grow rapidly on the sides. It's just a vine, look at me. Randy reached out to use the ice energy to freeze the vine, and then smash it. But at the moment of approaching, a great fear welled up in my heart. His second skill, danger perception. Marvel heavy fan Randy believes that the birth of this skill should have a big reason for being bitten by a spider when he was a child. Randy stopped his palm in time, and under the palm was a dense small thorn glowing purple. If you don't look closely, you won't notice it at all. I thought it was hidden. Mu-Yun sighed regretfully, feeling deep regret for the failure of his attempt. The emotions were revealed to Randy without presentation. Randy didn't have any sober feelings. He subconsciously felt that this poison was really powerful. If he touched it, he was likely to die on the spot. Randy looked at Mu-Yun again, and there was no mockery and disdain in his eyes. He knew very well that, if he still underestimated the enemy like before, his life would be accounted for here. Thinking of this, Randy's hand slowly withdrew. However, there is a way to remedy it. Mu-Yun snapped his fingers with a grin again, and the seemingly smooth vines grew countless spikes towards Randy in an instant. The spikes stabbed at Randy, and he was about to pierce Randy. Colonel. A fire-based powerhouse burst out into a burst of flames, wanting to burn this damn vine to the ground. Electromagnetic explosion. At the same time, Fan Zhaoqi, who was standing at a high place, raised his red lips, and the huge electromagnetic turned into a beam of light, directly burning the fire system powerhouse without any defense. Everyone was dumbfounded, but Niu Daseon was still sober. What are you doing, stunned? Offensive. Offensive. Only then did the Suzaku team members immediately wake up, and countless magical energies poured down towards the ground. There were still Zuanwu players on the ground, even if they were charging forward with special energy, and wanted to avoid these people who fell from the sky. They were also blocked back by the shield array of the Zuanwu team members. There are supernatural beings in the sky, and there are supernatural beings, which is a funny and cruel picture. In the vine cage, Randy was covered with an ice blue light. Obviously, he is the purest ice energy protector, and he is not stabbed by the stinger of the vine. Such a skill, that consumes a huge amount of energy, I'm afraid, that only the King Realm can use it. Mu-Yun glanced at it with some envy. However, now Randy did not feel relaxed, and with Mu-Yun's increasing energy, He obviously felt that the stinger was throwing an attempt to attack. The constantly squeezed space made his energy compress to a very tight state. Break. Boom. As Randy drank loudly, the already not so strong vine cage was suddenly exploded. Swoosh, the sound of the long sword splitting through the air sounded, but Randy opened his shield accurately in the dust to defend himself. Bell. The long sword struck the shield, and the shield could not withstand and suddenly cracked. Seeing this, Randy also gave up his defense. He knew that the guy in front of him called Hidden Butterfly was coming to immortality. With the screams of his most elite warriors filled his ears, Randy's eyes began to turn red. However, the long sword did not pause after the shield shattered, and it became tapering and lengthening unusually smoothly. Lightning 5 consecutive whips. Mu Yun shouted loudly, and shouted out that Zuan and Zuan move. Snap. The long whip with the thunder and lightning through a crack in mid-air, and Randy dodged it to barely avoid it. He had heard of the name of the Lightning 5 consecutive whip thousands of miles away. I didn't expect to see the legendary move here. This Lightning 5 in a row whip only made one move, and the powerful thunder and lightning made Randy feel overwhelmed. It's an ancient country. Snap. The next 3 whips were the fastest, and even though Randy flashed and flashed, still holding the resistance spear in his hand, he was still hit by one of the whips. Ugh. Randy cried out in pain. Don't call. In broad daylight, others still think what happened to me. Mu Yun smiled and looked at Randy, who fell to the ground. The lightning instantly spread to the nerves, and even almost smashed the crystal nucleus. He threw the last whip towards his head, and his fragile neck could not withstand the powerful power of lightning, and it instantly ejected, giving the body head a separation ceremony. Colonel Randy, who was arrogant for a while, fell into a foreign land. When the other superpowers saw it, they were directly dumbfounded. Quickly retreat. The people above are dead. What are they pretending to be here? Whoever came here did not want to send their lives. What's more, the salary paid by the troops now is not enough for the girl to buy a bag. With your little money, it's hard for me to do things for you. Chase. Chapter 475. With Niu Daseong's order, the Zuanwu team members put away their shields one by one, loaded lightly, and the skills in their hands were thrown out one by one without money. The Suzaku team members on the city wall also kept aiming and firing until their range was no longer reached. Randy's death caused the ice above the river to shatter. The first to run across the river was the lucky one. And those who came after that were not so lucky. They crowded on the surface of the river, slipped under their feet, and plopped into the river like dumplings. Some of the multinational coalition troops quickly landed on the shore relying on their special abilities, and escaped wet. But some people are not so lucky. Shrouded. Mu Yun made a faint sound, and an invisible wall appeared from the river, making them unable to move forward or retreat. In the narrow space, someone was directly drowned in the panic. The person who knows water shouts inside the hood, hey, even break. But there is no way to turn for help. The Suzaku team members behind naturally stopped when they saw this scene. There was even a foreigner with brakes under his feet, stopped in time on the bank of the river, and patted his chest to feel that he had escaped. Get down, you. A grumpy Suzaku player kicked him directly in the ass. The foreigner couldn't react, and was directly kicked into the water. The protective cover fluctuates slightly, and only allows entry and exit. However, Mu Yun did not let them stay in despair for a long time. I saw that he held it with one hand, and the protective cover suddenly tightened. The protective shield, that was originally used for defense, turned into a huge killing weapon in an instant. The protective shield mercilessly squeezed everyone's flesh, whether above or below the river. Everyone huddled together, their faces painful. Some people are even constantly begging to give him a pain. Mu Yun directly waved his hand. Everyone's heads were broken, and the colorful crystal nuclei quickly came to Mu Yun's side. Without the ability to resist, those people were quickly crushed into a whole pile of meat sauce. The meat sauce was washed away by the river, attracting many ignorant little fish to a full meal. It seems that there is really no one in Hangman Town, otherwise there would be no fish in the river. The team members looked at Mu-Yun, who said this in surprise. So that's your point. The focus is off. Okay, collect the troops. They won't come in a short time. Mu-Yun waved his hand, and everyone answered in unison. Yes. At this time, in the humble command office, Qin Yu, who watched the whole process through the monitoring, was simply so excited that he almost grabbed Mr. Qin's collar and jumped up. Mr. Qin, did you see it? That's Mu-Yun, my teacher. Cows are not. Qin Yu was happy, and even Mr. Qin was shocked, and roared from time to time, and his ears hurt. Cows, 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 cattle. Mr. Qin said this sentence expressionlessly, looking very unconvincing. But Qin Yu doesn't care. Someday, he will be like a teacher. Teacher, you're back. Tea. Pinch your feet. Massage. Once Qin Yu's doglegs mode was turned on, Mr. Qin had the feeling of 10,000 grass mud horses galloping in his heart. Is this really the next leader of the Qin family that he wants to assist? Say yes calmly, calmly, calmly. Dude fed the dog, didn't he? Even Mr. Qin felt that the dog named Wanke, no, the wolf, was like a leader than the current Qin Yu. No need, you can only send sentries during this time, and the other soldiers can take a good rest. Randy is dead, they should reassess the strength of Ahua Kingdom. 60% of the time you're likely to negotiate with your grandfather. Mu-Yun analyzed. Qin Yu handed a cup of hot tea to Mu-Yun, who was leaning on the only shabby sofa. Teacher, you drink water. How can I see it? The multinational coalition was originally established to pacify the country of China. Will they be so simple to talk about peace in one night? Mr. Qin said. He did not think that the United States had bothered to win over a multinational coalition to start such a war, but just gathered and fought for one night, and he was scared to talk about peace. Well, but it's not good. Let's see if Qin Jianming is willing to give them what they want. Mu-Yun recalled the vague memories of his previous life, when he was turned into a dog, and did not pay much attention to national affairs. After all, every day with your head not on the waistband of your trousers, who cares about the country? However, I heard that, because of the rebellion caused by the Yang family, Hua Guo's vitality was greatly damaged. I had to hand over that thing, so that the multinational coalition army did not overwhelm the gate. What is it? Qin Yu asked. Neither Mr. Qin nor Mu-Yun spoke, and it was obvious that it was another tacit jealousy and silence. Qin Yu squatted in the corner and drew circles. Well, no one told him. When he got home, he asked his grandfather to go. It shouldn't be given. Mr. Qin has no memory of Mu-Yun, and the current situation has not reached the point of exhaustion, and there is still a possibility of a war in the country of China. Mu-Yun knew that his butterfly fanned the wind of Hua Guo, and made history go in different directions. Well, it's better to hold that thing in your own hands. Then the negotiations collapsed. The front line is still dragging them in the previous rotation order. When the enemy retreats, I advance, and when the enemy advances, I retreat. Consume and kill them. Mu-Yun rubbed his hands. Now Hua Guo has advantage, it will never be overturned. You haven't said why you have to negotiate so soon. Mr. Qin's eyes flashed with blue light. His supernatural ability could see through people's hearts, but for some reason he couldn't see through Mu-Yun's mind. All that came back was a cacophony. This was also the reason why Mr. Qin trusted him, because of the leader's trust, but on the other hand, he had to be afraid to guard against Mu-Yun. What can't be seen through is the most terrifying. Oh, here's the answer. As soon as Mu-Yun's voice fell, a black mist suddenly appeared from his side. In the black mist, a young girl appeared in a graceful figure, and an ordinary wooden plaque hung on her belt. There is a big 2 written on it. These numbers. It's not very auspicious. Qin Yu touched his head dumbfoundedly, and accidentally said what he had in his heart. Sequence 2 just looked at him coldly, and withdrew his gaze. Report to the City Lord. Currently 19 admirals from 30 countries have been beheaded. Assassinate multiple colonels at once, Captain. Obey the City Lord's next arrangement. Sequence 2's face was covered with a black mist, making it impossible to see her expression, and only bright eyes could see her excitement. It's been a long time since I had such a hearty job. Well done. Next. Mu Young Gang wanted to say something, but he smelled a faint bloody breath. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.